Hi everyone, and welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave. This is the 9th episode in our epic linear reread of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire. Today we'll be covering chapters that take place during the second week of October 298, and they are Dany V, Tyrion V, Tyrion VI, Cat VII, and Bran V. And covering those chapters, my name is Bina ZaneSeven on the forums. We also have Matt.
What's up? Varley on the forums, Matt in real life.
Nadia.
Hello everyone, this is Nadia.
Adam.
Drownedsnow on the forums.
Patrick.
Hey, Patrick the Toll on the forums, Patrick in real life.
Shaggydog.
Hey everyone, it's Shaggydog, Scott in the forums. No wait, that's backwards. Scott in real life, Shaggydog on the forums. You tricked me, Bina.
And we have some new people on today. So in real life this time rather than recording, we have Peter Slalish 15.
Yeah, Peter Slalish on the forums, Peter in real life.
And we have Wargasm.
This is Drew in real life and Wargasm on the forums.
And ZaneSeven.
ZaneSeven on the forums, Jonathan in real life.
Cool. So
Bina, can you say Wargasm again?
Should I use it H when I say it? So, Drew, do you want to go first and tell us how you got into the books, whether or not you've done a reread yet, and also who your favourite character is?
Sure. Well, let's see. I watched season 1 of the show, and then after that, then I was hooked. I needed more content, so I started reading the books. And then also, I got into this group just by, because I ran out of material. So, and your guys's reread that you did for Feast Dance really hooked me for getting in with it. So yeah, I've been listening to you guys for a long time, and I'm happy to be part of it. As far as my favorite character concerned, I like everyone a little bit. Everyone's a little, everyone's a great character, but I really do actually like Catelyn quite a bit. I think her situation.
Can you mute his microphone, Bina?
I'm really pleased that he's on because we need some balance. I feel this is really great. So
I just feel that she gets dealt some really, really horrible cards. She's not presented with all the information she needs to be able to unwind things that would be critical to her survival and her family's survival, and she tries to have some agency throughout the whole thing, and she just keeps getting crapped on by George. I don't know what she did to her, but yeah. So anyway, I really do like Cat. So
excellent.
That's a satisfactory defense. You may stay on the call.
Thank you.
ZaneSeven.
When I got into Game of Thrones, I think I read the first book before the show came out, and I didn't read the second book until after the show came out. I read the first book, I kind of fell off, and then the show came out and I read the rest of the books. And this is I've read the first book before, but I haven't read the whole entire series yet.
Okay.
And favorite character, I really like Ned, just because, I don't know, he gets a lot of hate, I feel like, but he's not that stupid.
We have a lot of uncommon choices today.
We do.
It's okay. Ned wasn't raised
seriously.
smart.
So Zane, you just said you haven't read the entire series yet?
No, I have. I just haven't done a full reread yet.
Oh, gotcha.
Did any of you guys see the post by George R.R. Martin on his blog?
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately.
Damn it.
How are we feeling
But
today?
it's not really unexpected, is it? I mean,
Not really
what
unexpected.
you speak
But
of?
it's not really
It's
unexpected, but it will have consequences for me at least. I'm pretty sure, not promising anything or anything, but I think I might not do the Wolfcast this year then, simply because I'm not watching the show.
Who else is doing Wolfcast at this point? Because I think Imogen's dropping out, right? She's not watching it. Yeah.
There might be new people, but I don't think maybe somebody else can keep it going, but I'm probably not going to watch this show.
How about the rest of you? Does it impact your decision to watch if you're still watching?
No.
How can you say that? How are you going to be able to hold back from watching the show?
Yeah, I'd rather be spoiled by watching the show than spoiled by
someone on the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, last season, so many things happened. I'm just that's not going to happen in the books.
like stuff will come up and you go, ooh, that's a spoiler, but to be honest, like they're just doing their own thing right now. Like I don't even care anymore.
I feel like I possibly could stay away from spoilers, and even if I get one or two spoilers, it should be better than being spoiled completely. And I'm pretty sure not everything is going to be its own thing. Something is going to be close enough to the real thing so that I would rather read it than watch it, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
will
for
we
me,
ever
it's not-
actually get the real thing? That's my concern at this moment. Like,
What, you think
want
we're
this
not going to
story
get
be,
another
like-
book?
Well, I think I want to get, closure on this entire story in like one form or another. Like the fact that Winds of Winter, like a Dream of Spring might be another 6 years out, 7 years. Come on, like that's
10.
Okay. So for me, spoilers are not really a big thing. I mean, I don't really mind getting spoiled. I just want my first opinion of everything to come from the original material, which are the books, right? So
I mean, ideally,
Once I'm-
yes. I
once
agree
I'm
with you. Nadia.
sure that there won't be any books, if she suddenly announces, I'm not writing anymore, then yes, I'll go and watch the show. But until then, I will wait.
Yeah, see, I if that was an option, I would kind of prefer that, but I know it's going to be everywhere. I know I'm going to be hearing about it, and like I'm going to be talking about it with my friends, and like to just like exclude myself from the conversation because I'm like, oh, I'll wait for this book. Like, I'll probably enjoy the book a lot more when it comes out, and it probably won't be tainted at all when it does come out, and it's going to be a lot different. So I might as well just watch the show.
I'm impressed with everybody's discipline. If you can avoid the show, props to you.
I mean, I did last season. It just involved not being on Twitter or the forums for the 10 weeks it was running. And on Facebook, you can still be friends with people, but just unfollowing them so that you're not seeing stuff come up in their timelines if they post about the show. So it's definitely possible to do, and it's not excluding yourself for all time. It's just that period. And I think people are very respectful of it. Like, I'm back in this community and no one's spoiled me apart from a small thing that I knew anyway, so...
But Bina, doesn't that let the terrorists win?
Oh, dear. No, I think subscribing to HBO lets the terrorists win, no? I mean... And I'm not cancelling that subscription. But, no, I think it's possible to not watch. Did any of you, or were any of you surprised at... I kind of felt really bad for George R.R. Martin reading those posts. He sounded really depressed, and as if this thing that gives us so much joy has become this real burden to him, and that he almost... I just get the feeling when he talks about turning other cool stuff down, that maybe this isn't where he is creatively at the moment, and he'd rather be doing other stuff. I felt really bad for him, actually.
Yeah, I got the same sense. But
Yeah.
Isn't
really
that kind of
sad.
what we felt for a while? Like, just kind of behind the like he hasn't said this, but like that's sort of the impression I've gotten.
Yeah, maybe. I just think before the post I was more edging towards the anger and frustration rather than the sympathy and take your time kind of option.
Well, I think it's a little different because he sort of gave us a promise date, like, hey, it's going to be out before the next season. And actually, a few podcasts ago, Varley totally called it when we were sort of, naively, hopefully called us like sweet summer children or whatever the hell it was, being optimistic that it was actually going to show up. And so looks like Varley had the right of it. But I don't know. I think it's more of it's so impending on him and it's stressing him out that having that deadline and seeing that, come up with all the other things he had to do probably just wasn't viable. So it is what it is.
No, he definitely feels the pressure, like every day. Definitely, he said so as well in his post that he knows that this is a big thing that everybody wants, and every day that goes by and the deadline comes nearer, it's just so much more stress. So that when he posted this post and people, there was like overwhelming support for him just to take his time, not stress too much, because anyways we know if it really sucks all the joy out of this, then
the product won't be good, right?
Exactly. So we should just support him in whatever he chooses, and hope that it will give him enough free mind to actually finish the product at some point. And but that was actually overwhelming support for that. Like everybody was saying, just take your time. Thank you for being upfront with us and stuff about what's happened and stuff.
Yeah, but I think the podcast of Ice and Fire forums are a very particular subset of people.
Yeah, we're a little bit nice.
No,
a lot of
the comments on
too.
his actual live journal were pretty positive.
Yes, exactly. That's the one. And he actually went out just a few hours ago and said that he was very, very thankful for everyone who was supporting him, and he felt relieved and rejuvenated, actually. So
I mean, I think the true book fans just want it to be good, don't they? They don't want another rushed dance that needed a bit of an edit.
They do, but this all comes from, this is the flip side of taking a big fat check to do a TV series that comes out like clockwork. So, I mean, feeling pressure from fandom that's where all that's based. Is he's the one who decided to turn it into a series. So is that really a decision though? If someone comes along with that much money in this, like this has all been nothing but good for him. Like I don't think anyone can argue against that. I mean, the extra, the pressure and the stress and all that, yes, but like this has been good for his career, his legacy. It's brought him out to a lot more people. And I think, and there are a lot of analogies we could make, but it's maybe like a marathon runner and someone who trains and, they're halfway through it or whatever. And, they do it for themselves. And then all of a sudden people, they've got a bunch of people that maybe were betting on them or paying attention to them and just yelling the finish. And then it becomes grueling. It becomes a pain. It's already something that's hard to do. And maybe I think not just because he's been busy with the book, but because of just all the added pressure and stuff, it's become much harder to just write. Like not just the time, but just the different environment that he's in now.
Well, and he also has a particular writing style where he has to have like all his little figurines around him with his DOS, so it's not like he can.
You can't just use Microsoft Word.
Right.
He's got to go walk across the street to his other house and do that.
Yeah.
I think it's also kind of like if you're a musician and you've got like a deadline to, get a new song out or whatever. It's, it's not like it's something mechanical. It's not like working in a factory where you need to get, 50 units out by the end of the week. It's a creative process. And unfortunately, that's just not something that you can very easily set a timetable to. So without get something, on the quality level that he writes. So it's disappointing that he broke the time frame and that he gave out, but you know what? If he broke it, he broke it, and it just kind of is what it is. You just gotta sort of shut up and sit and wait. As much as we hate it.
Yeah, but I mean, if he had to still write this book to be able to buy supper or whatever, do you think it would have been out already, or do you think because he money really isn't an issue with him anymore that he doesn't have to produce anything really?
I don't think it's about money. I think it's just he's just got that kind of prevaricating style. Maybe it's not like he was poor when he started writing Game of Thrones, right? I mean, he was making a living from his writing and sort of always has since the 80s, if not before. So, it's obviously nicer to have more, but I don't think it was ever a motivating factor.
I think if he was also a starving artist, we wouldn't have read it either. So it's sort of some of his notoriety that he had from the 80s that got him the book deal in the first place. So there's that aspect of it. Never would have come about if it was just sort of his first time at it.
No, the first 3 books he wrote was also, he wrote them in advance and didn't know if he was going to sell them. So it's just not his style. I think generally he just likes to write for the fun of it. And if there's no more fun in it, then maybe he doesn't like to write that so much.
Was anyone else concerned when just by the amount of material it sounded like he has written so far? Like he said, hundreds and hundreds of pages, but it's like, okay, so the last book was what, 1,500 pages, something like that.
Don't you feel like maybe he writes up a chapter or something and then goes, oh, that was shit,
Yeah, I think he's probably scrapped a ton of chapters, probably all the ones that he's released on the internet for us to read.
I was actually positively surprised at how much he said he'd written, and saw it as a good sign. He's not in the midst of a Maroney's knot or anything, so it's all good. He just needs more time to finish, polish, edit, reshape. It's all good.
Yeah, Dance with Dragons is only 959 pages of actual, chapter text, not including the indexes. So it's not like he did something like A Storm of Swords, which is around 13 or 14 or 1,500 pages. So it may just be that he's got the base idea down, that he just needs a little smoothing over, and it'll be out later on the air, which hopefully, but that kind of I didn't kind of get that impression. I kind of got that he's got it, but it's just not right, or he's just not happy with it. So I don't know.
I think I'm gonna stop speculating on when he's gonna get out with it. I think it's from now on, just for my own sanity, I'm just gonna think, well, it's out when it's out. Forget about it and be pleasantly surprised when I get an update about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we have the podcast, right? That's why we're doing the podcast.
Yes, because we need
Right.
to scratch
We'll
have so
reread
much
it
time.
as many times as possible until we get the next book.
enough
When did the
material
first
for
book
that.
come out?
Yeah, maybe we should like slow it down a little. I think
When
we're
did
going too fast.
Yeah, the first book came out in '94.
I was 4 years old.
Oh,
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
So, man. So,
I'm now
yeah.
25, so that's like most of my life. This series has been going.
Wow. Sure. Young people.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are a sweet summer child.
Yeah. Let's get on with it before I get more depressed.
Yeah, thanks for the first disappointment of 2016, Martin. Owe you one there.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, as I said before, we're doing 5 chapters today, which all take place in the same week of October, so the action is now coming thick and fast. So at the end of the last episode, we ended on Sansa 3, and it was all about the tourney. We now skip over Ned 12 in the linear reread to come to Dany 5. So I think it's over to Nadia.
Okay, so Khal Drogo presents a freshly slaughtered horse's heart to Daenerys in front of the Dosh Halim, the ancient crones of Rhys Dothrak. Under their close scrutiny, Dany begins to chew on the raw and bloody heart. She has been preparing for the ceremony for weeks, as eating the whole heart would mean a strong son. Khal Drogo watches Dany closely, and as Dany finishes the heart, she thinks she sees pride in his eyes. When she is done, she proclaims, "A prince rides inside me." And the oldest crone in return shrieks, "The prince is riding." The rest of the crones start chanting, bells start ringing, and war horns blow. But as the oldest crone comes forward to see into the future, all fall silent. She declares, "The prince is riding, and he shall be the stallion who mounts the world." When the crone asks Dany what she would name her son, she says Rhaego. After this, Khal Drogo leads her to the lake called the Womb of the World. On the way, Drogo asks Dany the meaning of the name Rhaego, and Dany tells him she has named him after her dead brother Rhaegar, who was the last of the dragons. Drogo approves. At the lake, Dany takes off clothes and cleanses herself in the water. As she comes out of the lake, Drogo approaches and takes her in front of the entire procession. Once dressed, Dany is led to her silver, and she and Drogo ride to Drogo's hall. As she enters, the Dothraki assembled scream, "The stallion that mounts the world." Dany searches the crowd for Viserys, but doesn't find him. She sees Jorah seated in a place of respect. She summons him and asks him about Viserys. Jorah tells her that Viserys is trying to hire self-fords from the caravans in the Western Market, and that he had tried to steal Dany's dragon eggs to pay for them. Dany is shocked, but she says Viserys had only to ask for them, as he is a king. Suddenly, Viserys enters drunk and wearing a sword. Bloodshed and weapons are forbidden in West Dothrak, and his entrance sets everyone on edge. Viserys tries to go and sit with the Khals, but is insulted by Drogo, who tells him his place is with the old and maimed. The Dothraki laugh at him. Jorah goes to Viserys and after an argument knocks him to the floor. Viserys draws his sword, and when Dany screams, he stalks towards her. She pleads with him, but he is beyond reason. He says he wants the crown he was promised, or he will take Dany back and cut the baby out of Dany and leave it for Drogo. Drogo comes to Dany and she tells him what Viserys has said. Drogo declares Viserys shall have a splendid golden crown. His blood riders grab Viserys, and Drogo melts his huge gold medallion belt in a pot over the huge fire pit. Viserys begins to scream, and Jorah begs Dany to look away, but she looks on. Drogo crowns Viserys with the melted gold, and when Viserys dies, Dany thinks he was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Thanks, Nadia. Big chapter. So, thoughts, anyone?
Yeah. I was thinking, every time Jorah goes to Viserys, is he sort of trying to restrain him or egging him on? Is he like pushing Viserys towards sort of this final showdown?
Depends on which agent what organization he's an agent for. Is he an organization for Illyria and or Varys, or is he actually helping somebody else?
I think at that point it's more of a safety thing. Like they're about to get torn to shreds if he starts drawing blood with his sword, because that's sort of a taboo thing at that spot. So I don't necessarily think he's at that moment in time acting as an agent of somebody. It's more of, oh my God, we're gonna all be killed if you do something really stupid here.
I mean, it's taboo to draw a sword in this place of sacred worship, but you can kill a guy.
Right, and you can use stone, weapons just to kill a horse and cut its heart out. That's drawing blood too, but you just can't use steel,
Who came up with these ideas?
George.
Stupid crones.
I kind of wonder what some of the other Cals who are sitting around, because there's Cal Ogo and Cal Jomo who are like just sitting around with Drogo. So what's the conversation there going on? Like, so your kid's going to be the Stein that mounts the world and is going to take over everything, including all of us? Awkward?
Yeah.
Oh no, Drogo's he's boasting about how long he lasted with Daenerys just a couple seconds ago. He's like, man, I lasted 3 pumps and I was done.
Maybe in that culture it's all about efficiency.
True. For the Cal on the go.
Do you all think it's realistic that in such a kind of macho not misogynistic, but it's just this hyper-masculine society, and yet basically it's run by all these old women? Is that bizarre, realistic? Doesn't matter?
It is. It is very bizarre. When Dany's thinking, she can either have a strong son or, the baby will come out stillborn or something
Woman, yeah.
or worst of all, females.
But doesn't it make actually the most sense when you think about it? Like, what's the life expectancy of a Khal, right?
Right.
So, like, these are the people that are going to be around, that'll be around the longest, to that have the wisdom. Like, it just makes sense to let them handle kind of the boring matters while these guys go off and die.
I do think it's kind of elegant that the crones of they're all former Khaleesi who most would think that in a culture like this they would just be raped and killed, but no, they get taken and they get to live out the rest of their life in as a Dutch Khaleen, which is kind of not what one would expect from a culture like this.
And it's also that the role that they're serving is almost that of someone who's going to fulfill a prophecy, or someone who's sort of communicating with deities to provide guidance. The Cals are sort of fulfilling the role of military and just general hunter-gatherer roles, really. So it's not like they're without a role in their society that keeps them relevant.
I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, it seems kind of like, unlike maybe like a more like hunter-gatherer Native American kind of culture, they're just kind of they do kind of serve that purpose of going out and kind of doing the dirty work, being the military guys or whatever, and the older crones are kind of staying back behind. But the difference being, I think that Khals and the main guys out there going as part of the Khals, they kind of see themselves as the I guess the cat's meow, the coolest thing ever. They're the most powerful dudes there are, and they're trying to dominate everybody else out there. And I don't think that there's any kind of, I don't think they leave any room for their the crones having power over them in some way. I think that they kind of maybe think that they might have some wisdom about some things and respect them being old and elderly as being people to be respected, but I don't think that they actually bow to them in any kind of way. I think that they're just kind of we're still the alpha dogs. If we decide something, you'll do it. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Well, I kind of agree. I'm kind of just thinking that maybe, Khal Drogo chose Dany as his Khaleesi because she was special. I think maybe some of the other Khals have chosen their wives because they might have something special to them, like a second sight or something like that. That might be just what it is, and that's why one of the Dosh Khaleen actually are able to come with a prophecy like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, good point.
Because if you just assume that we're told that the Dosh Khaleen are all former Khaleesi's, and you figure each Khal picks a Khaleesi for based on some kind of merit, right?
Yeah.
So they're all individually special, and that's why they get to rule. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think they all have some sort of merit. She has royal blood, plus she's pretty hot, and some of the other might have other merits to them.
The Princess of Qohor or something like that.
Yeah.
The one with one eye could be being warred by Bloodraven.
The images.
How do you guys
Anything
feel George stacks up as a writer of Rampy Pumpy?
He's
This to me
awful.
is like one of the worst sex scenes in the book, actually. It's horrible.
Yeah, it was, but well, it's a short story. He's not very good at short stories, so
He's awesome at short stories.
not that short. I don't know. I got to listen to the audiobook, and it was awful.
well, Roy Trees does not do good sex scenes.
He's the best.
I mean, Peter Baelish.
Leprechaun sex scenes.
No, yeah, Peter Baelish and the other Tully there. Phew, no, no, he's not very good at that. And that was my first introduction to this scene as well. So I must admit that I also felt it a bit strong, almost traumatic.
George can't write sex at all. Like, I don't think there's an incident of someone having sex in these books that are like, ugh, gross.
I think George just wants to leave all the sex scenes up to the fan fictions that are inevitably going to show up on the internet anyway. So,
like Stanza.
Just shut up.
Yay, Santa.
It's just like every time anyone in like serious fiction refers to somebody's manhood, it's just ridiculous. If you want to write about sex, but don't use these absurd words. It just makes me laugh.
Like Rumpy Pumpy.
Rumpy Pumpy's British. That's what we say.
No, those aren't even words.
Does anyone of you find the sex scene kind of, or the way in general that he treats Dany as kind of borderline offensive? I mean, that point has been made.
Well, I mean, this whole chapter, she's being objectified, right? Like, she has to stand in front of everyone and devour this heart, and, for the, amusement or approval of the rest of the group, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of the cultural thing. I mean, when she was being presented to Drogo, prior to him accepting her, they kind of did the same thing. They stripped her naked and stuck her in a room full of guys to sort of check her out. So, I mean, that it is kind of an objectification, but it is that sort of culture that George has created.
I think you have to make a difference between him describing a culture that objectifies women, which is fine, and then him just doing that separate to that. So, for instance, him describing ceremony, that's absolutely fine because that's in the context of the culture in the novel. But, when he describes her getting into the sacred pool and the water just sort of like, sort of arousing her in certain ways, like that detail, considering the character's 13, I do find very, very sort of borderline offensive. Because it's not necessary. Yeah. It's not part of describing the culture and showing us the predicament she's in. It's just part of him having some fun, I guess. I don't know.
Man, she's a 13-year-old girl, or being pregnant and everything. That's cool. Describing her sexual drives. That's not at all.
I mean,
that's objectifying.
She's pretty much checked out though to it. It's not like she's like enjoying it or anything like that. It's just like she's just going through the motions of everything that she's been coached. That she knows what's going to happen, and to me she's checked herself out. Like, so she's not suffering during it. Like, so she's gone away inside where that's what's happening to her, and it's I don't know. It's disturbing to read.
I don't know if she's at that point now. I think she was at that point at some point, but I think now she's actually just thinking this is normal. She's been sort of like a Stockholm syndrome, thinking that this is the way you're supposed to be treated. This is her lot in life, so better adjust, I guess.
Yep.
Right, you lose.
It's also like
I think the Sakis seem to take it all very matter of factly, doing everything in plain view of everyone else.
Well, I think it's also an area which is kind of necessary to throw in there, because down the road later on, when she's liberating and freeing all the slaves, this kind of gives her that background of experience of, hey, this is what really life is like in almost, she's not a completely worse off slave. I mean, there's certainly people who were sold or given into the Dothraki or just simply taken that have it much, much worse off. But she kind of can relate to that. So that kind of explains her background and reasoning for, wanting to end slavery in Essos and, bring the cities around Slaver's Bay down.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because even as a
future.
Khaleesian queen, she's still treated like, inferior, and she recognizes that like all the way down the class system, I think, eventually.
Yeah, exactly. There is one other thing that Daenerys says something kind of interesting to Mormont in regards to Viserys when he's coming in drunk. And she says, you don't understand, sir. She said, my mother died giving me birth, and my father and my brother Rhaegar even before that. I would never have known so much as their names if Viserys had not been there to tell me. And that kind of relates back to the conversation we were having on the last podcast for R+L=D. So that's where a lot of that notion that Viserys had total control over everything Daenerys knows comes from. That's it.
Yes. Huge supporter. Yes.
But wait, we're forgetting one thing. Viserys was 8 when Dany was born. So this is just a kid. He can't have come up with an entire conspiracy on his own, like when he was 8 years old.
Right.
Yeah, but
R+L=D has been widely disproven.
Yes.
At least by me.
Thank you.
No. Maybe in the court of Varley's public opinion, but not necessarily.
I think
that
you're
would
giving
be
Viserys too much
#court,
credit.
in my opinion.
I think that's the only court that matters to Matt. Sorry, John, did you want to say something?
Oh, just that I think you're giving Viserys too much credit. I don't think he is that intelligent to trick Dany into thinking she's his sister.
Well, I remember when I was a little kid.
Trick
Like,
it.
Wow.
yeah, you can. He's an asshole. That's all.
Really?
Yeah.
But is he an intelligent asshole?
Well,
No.
what is
He
the
draws
trick
the sword.
involved in telling a kid, a lie? Like, kids believe everything. Like,
Yeah.
like when I was young, my stepdad would tell us that that the foam
Santa
in
was
the
real?
ocean. Well, he tells us the foam in the ocean was whale barf, and that if we ate the gravel in the parking lot, it would clean our teeth. And you believe that for a while.
What the fuck?
That is horrific.
Really? He told you like eating gravel would clean your teeth?
Yep.
Did you eat
It's good-
gravel
it's
then?
good for your
Did
teeth.
your mum know about this?
Dude, your family
yeah.
dentist must
Yeah,
have
it
loved
didn't
him.
last long. No, it was
Wow.
just like I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, it's good for my teeth. No, who told you that?
Wow,
I'm,
man.
I'm still certain that the foam is whale barf. Like, you can't convince me otherwise.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Anything
Another-
else non-traumatic about the chapter? Or?
yes, I've talked about this before a few times, but I'm gonna ask you guys: do you think, how much do you think that Viserys and Dany talk Valyrian to each other in the?
I don't think they do at all.
Yeah, they never do.
But she's fluent in Valyrian when we
Yeah,
go.
that's
because
true.
they grow up in Bravos and whatnot, where everyone speaks Valyrian.
But she
I mean,
speaks
it's a
High
bastard
Valyrian.
Valyrian, but didn't she when she was very young? Willem Darry was sort of there,
It's like learning Latin or something, right? But you'd need to practice it to say.
Willem
fluent,
Darry
wouldn't
would
you?
have taken care of their education, right, at the very start.
I'm pretty sure that is not normal for a person, for a baker king and a baker princess.
They weren't exactly beggars at the beginning, right?
No, the first few years
After Willem Darry died, they had
Yeah.
to flee, right,
Yeah.
from Bravos. But before then, I'm sure he was, sort of taking care of them and taking care of their education.
But she specifically says that it's her native language.
Well, she speaks 3 languages by the time she gets to Quarth because she speaks Valyrian. She also speaks the Westerosi Common Tongue and Dothraki. So
Yeah.
she understands all 3 languages.
Yeah, but she specifically said that this is her native language, her mother's tongue, or something like that, which means she must have been at least fluent. It might even be her first language, and maybe in its tradition in general that Valyrians just speak to each other in High Valyrian. I have this theory that in many courts in Europe, you would have, if there is a few people that's from another country, like imported from another country into the royal family, they would speak that language, or it might just be the cool language, like French was in certain courts.
Or like the Russian royal family speak French or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Wasn't French spoken in the early English courts too?
Well,
but that's
because
another
the
reason.
court was
Yes.
French because they conquered us, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
it wasn't
The
that
one time
it wasn't
they
that the
invented the language.
Anglo-Saxons were thinking, yeah, let's speak French. It's so fashionable. It's what all the cool kids are doing this year. It's because they
Yeah,
beat
no,
us
it's
in
like-
battle.
Yes, thanks 1066. Yeah.
It would also make sense that Valerian's...
Thanks for raising that, Matt. By the way,
Yeah, no problem. I thought I'd get it in a subtle dig.
nice.
It also kind of makes sense that Valerian gets spoken, throughout Essos, because Valeria did, for the most part, conquer most of all of Essos. So yeah, you would think that they would have inflicted some of their culture, including their language, upon, just the people who were around.
Yeah, but the difference is that every free city has their own dialect, and it's almost always a bastardization of the true High Valyrian. So you can't you can probably understand a lot from what they're saying if you know High Valyrian, as she said already. To know High Valyrian, because you can speak it fluently, you'd have to learn that specifically and talk that. I mean, a lot as well, unless she's like a lingual genius of some sort.
Or someone just was a bit sloppy writing the book.
No, that's not
That
it.
could be.
That can't be it. That can't be it.
It wasn't needed yet to clarify how many language she was speaking or how she was communicating. Yeah, it wasn't important until she needed to do the reveal when
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important to me.
And therefore it's important to us, Patrick.
That's right.
Thank you.
Anything else in this chapter, or on to Tyrion V?
Let's move on, please.
Let's move on. Okay, Varley has decreed it, and so it shall be. So we're
Yeah,
actually
I
not.
like that.
We're actually not moving on. We're moving back 9 chapters or 90 pages in my edition to Tyrion V, which shows you, I guess, in a way, just how far George had to disperse the Dany chapters through the book. But anyways, over to Peter Slalish 15 live.
Yep, live. Here we go. Tyrion's in the Eyrie, thinking about how much the blue is calling to him because of hater of prepositions and awful person Lord Mord. He's kind of by himself, obviously, so he's in his own thoughts. He's thinking about when he was being super sarcastic to Lysa, when she accused him of murdering Jon Arryn, and also obviously attempting on Bran's life as well. Cat saves Tyrion in that moment from Sweet Robin, who wants to kill Tyrion. Whoa, if that would have happened. Tyrion is still in his thoughts, and he's thinking about, I obviously know it's not me who killed these people. Could Cersei or Jaime actually have done this? Did they do it? And he kind of comes to a shaky conclusion that they're both too rash and too stupid, not too stupid, but they're too headstrong and too quick to anger to have kind of been that careful, or I guess not terribly careful, but planned that well enough. So he kind of concludes that there's a third party involved who kind of wants to set the Lannisters and the Starks against each other. And that's very ironic because it's actually Lysa and Peter, and he's being held captive by Lysa at this point. So that's pretty funny. Then he bribes Mord, gets him to come into Lysa's hall, and then he starts to, do his whole sarcasm thing where he says all of the charges, but they're not actually what he's being charged with to die. And then he does the ultimate, what I think everybody agrees is kind of the trump card of Westeros, when he demands a trial by combat, which apparently is able to get you out of literally everything. Bronn steps up, and the impending showdown will happen next. But yeah, that's basically the chapter.
Do you guys think this will ever get revisited? The fact with the knife and everything, it seems like it's completely left the plot line. It was, obviously very important for this book and the next book, and then it just kind of no one cares. Tyrion even forgets the follow up with Peter, right?
Yeah, because it moves away from being this sort of CSI King's Landing thing.
Yeah, everything else is snowballs on top of this. Really, but this is really kind of a main catalyst for starting everything.
I don't know why, but everybody seems to let it go rather quickly and focus on the other stuff happening pretty quickly afterwards, I guess. So poor Bran,
Right?
probably didn't get any justice.
Yeah, Tyrion figures out it's Joffrey, right before the purple wedding.
Yeah.
But we never get a solid answer, right?
No, I think he has a moment where he talks to Jaime when Jaime is springing him from King's Landing after just prior to Tyrion killing his father, that he says something to the effect of, Joffrey was the one who was responsible for that. If memory serves correct, I could be wrong on that though.
Huh.
I have a question though. Do you think that things would have gone differently if Tyrion had been executed then and there?
Well, the Vale would have definitely had to go to war, right?
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
And he wouldn't be there for the Clash of Kings, right?
No, but what would have been different? Wouldn't it have been better actually if Tyrion died?
Not for
And then
Tyrion.
Stannis would have won the Blackwater, and yeah.
Yeah, Stannis would have won Blackwater.
And the Lannisters would just in general have lost because the Vale would have thrown it in his lot with the Starks, right?
But if Stannis had won Blackwater, he would not at that point have needed to marry Sansa. So Sansa couldn't have happened.
yeah.
But in many royal courts, the king is allowed mistresses, so Stanza could still happen.
Mm-hmm.
No, but a very key point of Stansa is they sit the throne together, so, you know.
Yeah. Well, so that's the only downside to Tyrion dying is that Sansa and Stannis can't get together.
Well, to a certain extent, it depends where his character goes in the forthcoming books, but it feels to me that he's gone to this very dark and unpleasant and despicable place. And, the Tyrion we all fell in love with in the first 3 books is no more. So, to a certain extent, I wouldn't have minded him going out. The witty, intelligent, clever guy that he was.
Yeah, this is definitely a vintage old Tyrion chapter.
I mean, he is smart. He just deduces stuff that's clever, and his character analysis of his siblings is absolutely spot on. It's just so good.
Agreed.
But the world would have been better if he died.
Yeah, things would have gone downhill for him rather quickly. So I have a little bit of a crackpot idea with this one. I was
Oh boy.
I was looking into to Mord on this one, and his name actually means murder. So everyone that Mord encounters either experiences being murdered or does murder themselves. Jon Arryn was murdered. Presumably they were, he had some interaction with him. Lysa gets murdered. He incurred basically, everyone he comes across either is,
Marillion.
Yeah, Marillion also. Yep, it basically.
Was he murdered?
Well, and Lord Robert, he's on on course to be murdered by someone. So yeah, it's everyone that Mord encounters is just dead.
So Tyrion will be murdered.
Yeah, he will be murdered. Yes.
Well,
Okay.
that's
I'm
really
sure
bad.
Just being in these books, has a good chance of you being murdered.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not many people get a peaceful death. Yeah.
So what is he, like a Tom Bombadil of murder or what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so sad.
Well, I mean, even even Mord's like his final duty when they leave the Eyrie is he is to kill the oxen that like brings everything down. He kills the cow too. So yeah.
Wow.
That's really bad
But
news
you
for
just
all those,
kill
like,
cows, you
knights
don't
and lords
murder
that were in attendance when Tyrion asked for the trial.
Yeah.
Oh crap, we're all gonna die now.
Lord
All
Mord.
the Lords declarant just all die.
Yeah.
Catelyn was there, wasn't she? Catelyn?
Yeah, she's
She
murdered.
was,
Yep.
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
What else? So there's a crackpot point to this theory? It seems more like it's a legit theory.
Dial M for murder.
I mean, Bina, you pointed out a second ago kind of how dead on Tyrion is with Jaime and Cersei in this chapter. He calls it like it is, pretty square in the face, where he kind of talks about them being very similar at that point of the story, being almost exactly what Cersei calls them later, or what she thinks they are, as two halves of the whole. How they kind of both headstrong, very lusty for power, very quick to act kind of thing. They don't really think things through very much at this point. That's kind of our jumping off point with both Jaime and Cersei, and then kind of we obviously see Cersei kind of get crazier and crazier and crazier and make mistake after mistake, and then we obviously see Jaime after being with Brienne a little while and realizing that ugly people are nice too, that he he kind of does a 180 and starts to have kind of better judgment and completely starts to have a completely different character arc, which is one of the best of the whole series, in my opinion. But my kind of question to everybody is, and this could be futile, I guess. I don't know why, but they kind of at this beginning point are on the same kind of even playing field, but then the kind of pendulum effect kind of happens where Cersei's stock, as it were, just goes completely through the floor, and Jaime's kind of goes through the roof. And do you guys think at all, I guess, I mean, after Jaime having his Stoneheart, maybe seeing Brienne die kind of thing that he's about to have happen, and with Cersei just having done her walk of shame, is there any kind of, because of those huge, massive events, could there be kind of a back pendulum swing? Like, could the stocks reverse at all?
Why would Brienne die?
Well, isn't she, like, getting hanged right now?
No, she picked up Jaime in the Riverlands and is bringing him to Stoneheart.
Yeah, she said sword.
Oh, am I completely wrong about that? Is she not getting hanged?
No, there was an allusion to it towards one of the chapters where she does encounter the Brotherhood without banners, and it does say that they're thinking about lynching her and Podrick.
Right.
But a later chapter later down, from Jaime's point of view, she shows up and she's like, "Hey, I need you to come with me," and he goes off with her.
Oh,
right. She's
well,
like, I found Arya or Sansa or someone, but
all right,
come
scratch
alone.
that then. Brienne's alive.
She's alive with half of her face eaten.
Well, it might be still happening. Who knows?
Yeah, still die.
Yeah, I'm thinking she might actually be double crossing Lady Stoneheart, like save Jaime's life, maybe even.
Why would she do that though?
Because she likes Jaime. I guess that's my motive.
Like is not a strong enough word.
No, I think it's more than that, but it's really difficult to.
Is it
really
more than a feeling?
Being the sworn sword of a risen zombie might not be the most honorable of actions for Brienne at that point.
Yeah, but when you realize like this woman actually came back from the dead, maybe you want to listen to her. Like that's some bizarre shit.
Yeah, but honor isn't logical.
How
Truth.
Anything more in this chapter?
I did notice one cool thing. When Tyrion is on his way in, and he's passing all these knights that have various sigils that he doesn't recognize, there's two of them that kind of jumped out at me. One was a winged chalice, which is actually a sigil from Sir Arlen of Pennytree, who, if you've read the Dunk and Egg stories, that's his sigil on his shield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it actually belongs to House Hersey of Newkeep, so maybe he's like a distant relation of them. Maybe Pennytree's actually in the Vale somewhere. There's another guy that he noticed had a broken lance on his as a sigil.
Hello.
And,
which one is that?
That's House Weidman, Widman. And I looked up their house, and their house words are "Right conquers might." I don't know if this is something that sort of changed over time when, whoever did the write-up on the house came up with it, because it went from 1 to 5, or if maybe Tyrion's just moving through the crowd looking for a friendly, house to Lannister, and he doesn't happen to notice it, and he's just noticing the ones that aren't. But the full sigil is 5 broken lances, and they're all underneath a red castle, a green viper, a black broken wheel, a purple unicorn, and a yellow lion. I guess the story is that they defeated a bunch of riders for those houses before that guy got knighted. So the houses are actually Redfort, Linderley, Waynwood, Braxton. The last one is a Lannister house. So if ever there's an indication that you're not, hanging around someone who's going to be helpful to you, that would be it.
Okay, everyone. So we've got a new podcaster also joining, bringing us up to 10 on this podcast, which has to be a record. So Noah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, sorry, had some technical difficulties there.
It wouldn't be Vok if there weren't. What's your forum name?
Pops, or whatever you got.
Cool. And as we always ask everybody, how did you get into the books? Have you done a reread before? And who's your favourite character?
So I got into the books. I was very stubborn. Loved it. Saw the Red Wedding and then just decided to go for the books and absolutely fell in love with them. This is my 3rd reread, I think. Just been demolishing the books. I absolutely love them. All the podcasts and all that.
Awesome. And who's your favourite character?
It's a tough one. I would have to say Davos is probably my favourite character because he's, I guess, the most like Ned absolute hero.
We've just done, or are finishing up on Tyrion V. So, yeah, just kick into the conversation whenever you feel like it. Does anyone else have anything to say on Tyrion V?
What
I like the description of the cells.
Yeah, the sky cells are terrifying.
Yeah. Like, just reading it like makes my feet and hands tingle with like vertigo.
Well, and the thing is, like I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, physically, it's not like he would have died from exposure in a day. Like with the types of winds and everything that you would have at a peak at that, at those altitudes. Like the fact that he says he has a soiled straw bed is I mean, it would be there for like 2 minutes and gone. Like he would freeze to death very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's still so cool.
Well, Jesus, every party needs a pooper, right?
Science.
I love it. But it's like I said last week, or last episode, that there's so much about the Irie is really beautiful and romantic and fascinating, but none of it adds up practically, including the sky
it's
cells.
fantastical.
As you said, it's just financially stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Varley.
Another thing I'm thinking about is what is Lysa's motive right now? What's she thinking? What she's wanting out of? Would she actually go?
She wants Peter Baelish's hot love, isn't that what she wants?
Yes.
Yeah, she wants to scream his name.
But she's probably been told something from Peter to maybe not even, because this is kind of like all Kat's idea. But but there might be something that Peter has told her that they want to do, get towards.
She's doing all this shit with the knowledge that she knows that she killed Jon Arryn. Like, so she's looking for the first possible person to tack that onto, as possible. So and Tyrion happens to be within her grasp. So I'm gonna dump this on him and throw him out of the Eyrie. That's her motivation, I think.
Yeah, it's also she doesn't allow Tyrion to name Jaime as his champion. She's like, no, we don't have the time to wait for him to, ride down the road to come see us. You're gonna fight tomorrow, unless somebody else around here is gonna stand up for you. Anybody? Oh, damn it! There's some sellsword in the back who spoke up. Who brought him?
Oh yeah.
So she's really just after Tyrion right now. She's probably been told from the beginning that she's going to keep the veil out of the war, whatever.
Do you think Peter would give away that much of his plan to her? I don't think she knew anything.
She's been having correspondence with him, but even before that, she's been saying that she's not getting into the war. So it must be part of the bigger plan that she's not joining.
No, I think she's right. I think she's just been told, like, do X, Y, and Z so I can become a lord and then we can finally get married.
Well, no, the prime motivator for Lysa is that she acts completely out of self-preservation for her son Robert. So that's how Peter's gotten her to poison Jon Arryn, is because he wanted to take her kid away from her. So this is all based, and that's why she sequestered herself up in the Vale, is because she's doing it out of desperation, trying to save her son. So that's her prime motivator in all of this, and so that would be the way that Peter would motivate her. Keep lock the doors, lock the bloody gate, and keep your kid behind this, because that's the only place he's going to be safe, and that's what she's acting out of, I would think.
I agree with you, but I think it's also a mixture of that and, just her love for Peter to begin with, right?
Oh, that definitely comes into play as well, yeah.
Is that Peter's kid?
No.
The seed is strong.
Well, not as strong as Tansy teeth.
Well, I don't know. I mean, part of this, she has no way of figuring out that Tyrion's going to demand a trial by combat, so... it may have been her plan just to sit back and hang out and, just sort of sit tight, wait for Littlefinger to show up and everything's going to be okay. Kat sort of derails that by bringing Tyrion there, and then Tyrion derails that even further by demanding a trial by combat. So her hand kind of gets forced in this situation where she doesn't really have a choice. She has to name somebody. She sort of denies Tyrion the chance to name his own champion. So she's really rigging the contest, really. And that's kind of how justice seems to work in the Vale.
Which is unfortunate because I feel like John Aaron, that like he would be totally against. Like he would be like, okay, you could get Jamie. Like,
Yeah,
or
but how
she's
do we
just
really
fearful
know?
and
How do we really know?
paranoid.
He dies off screen. We never really see him, but he's this sort of idealized older good guy father figure.
Right. I mean, he went
Mm.
down to Dorne and like made peace there. Like, I think he was very pragmatic and just wanted peace and like worked his best to maintain the realm. Like, besides Balon's rebellion, really, like there were no wars during the reign of Robert, right?
Yeah, aside from the Greyjoy uprising, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty good, man. That's like what, 15 years?
And yet, on his deathbed, rather than shouting out the seed is strong, he couldn't just say, Cersei's kids are bastards. No? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a sticking point for me too.
Didn't the realm
Alright.
go bankrupt under his watch?
That was Robert's fault, not John's.
But he
No,
was
that's more Littlefinger's fault.
Oh, that's true.
But he
But,
did appoint
yeah.
Littlefinger to the Master of Coin
yeah,
spot,
he's
so
like second in command.
whoops.
Yeah,
but, you know.
I don't think that John Aaron was especially good hand of the king, and well, a lot of things happened under his nose. So,
Yeah, but I think that's just like the machinations in King's Landing to begin with. Like,
but his
you know,
own
some-
wife and Peter Baelish.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just normal.
I mean, the queen is fucking her brother. like there's not normal relationships going on in King's Landing. There is, political, romantic, like all sorts of weird shit going on.
Okay.
But was he a good player of the game?
He lasted 15 years, about 14 more than Ned did.
Good point. Well made, sir.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I will just say, how long did he last after he figured out the truth of the royal children?
About
More
as
than
long
3
as Ned
pumps.
did.
True.
A
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
long.
So, in other words, Ned's much actually better than John Aaron because he figured it out a little bit faster than he did.
Well, yeah, Ned wasn't complacent.
Yeah.
True. Okay, so on to Cat 7. So
Okay.
we skip over the Tower of Joy chapter, and I think it's Wargasm who is doing summary.
Yes. Okay. So,
That's the
Catelyn
third
first
time.
Sorry. Catelyn watches the
juvenile.
waterfall. Catelyn watches a waterfall, which is said to be the tears of Alyssa Arryn, the woman who survived her husband, brothers, and children, but never wept. So the gods cursed her to cry a torrent that would never reach the ground below. She wonders how big the waterfall will be when she dies, presumably of the same fate. She's being briefed by Sir Roderick about the escalating situation in Riverrun, where her brother Edmure is leading the Riverland forces. Cat quickly realizes that her father is not well. She decides that she needs to return home and be with her family, but not before making one last attempt to reason with her wacko sister. A disgusted Blackfish tells her how her sister refused to aid Riverrun and denied his request to go as well. Never a man to be told what to do, he resigns. Cat finds little Robert watching a fucked up puppet show as Lysa sips wine with two of her hapless suitors, Ian Hunter, a man older than John Aaron, and the pedophile Lynn Corbray, who wields the Valyrian steel sword named Lady Forlorn, which is the only lady he's likely to have sleep next to him. Now, Lady
Nice.
Forlorn and yeah,
Nice.
Lady
Well done,
Forlorn and
sir.
Ice both have the same coloring. So, do they have some history there? Let's see. The Lady Widow of the Vale. Where'd I go? Okay. Widow of the Vale knows how to plan a social trial by combat. Then she plans to make history with the world's longest dwarf toss. Cat explains to Lysa some of the consequences of splattering the littlest Lannister, but John Aaron's true killer is more than happy to declare the certainty of Tyrion's guilt. Plus, her spoiled little shit stain wants to see him fly.
Dude. Calm down.
That's great.
Nice.
This is so good.
First time on the podcast. Well done. Fucking
Thank
firing
you.
bullets, man.
Cat observes with Maester Coleman that the batshit doesn't fall far from the tree. Robert needs to be fostered if there's going to be any chances of him learning how to rule.
Jesus.
Or indeed develop a taste for solid food. Coleman says that John Aaron agreed and intended the boy to be sent to Stannis. Catelyn states that she that he was to be fostered by Tywin Lannister, but before he can correct her and give Cat a much-needed clue that her sister lied to her, she is distracted by the start of the trial. Tyrion is escorted in to await his fate, followed by Ser Vardis and Bronn. Lysa decides to handicap her champion by insisting that he use a fancy sword that she bought for Lord Aaron, because Lysa is dumb as a box of hair. Next, we get a flashback to Littlefinger and Brandon's duel.
Hold on, is box of hair a thing?
Oh, it is now.
Okay.
Creating idiom as he goes.
So next we get the flashback to Littlefinger and Brandon's duel. Cat begs Brandon not to kill him. The fight ensues and does not go well for Peter. Brandon tells him to yield over and over, but Peter fails, and as he falls, he murmurs Cat's name. Riverrun's maester treats his wounds and keeps him well medicated with milk of the poppy. Lysa watches over him during his recovery. Later, we learn that during this time, Lysa pretends to be Cat and gets Littlefinger banged. She gets knocked up, but Hoster Tully isn't having it, and after drinking some tea, neither is Lysa. Lord Tully then sends Littlefinger back to the shitty little island from whence he came. Could this mark the beginning for Lysa's reproductive issues? I'm sure Westerosi Plan B is probably bad for the lady bits. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I had some fun with it, so okay. Let's see.
You most certainly did.
Yeah, you did.
I am very impressed.
Kudos.
Let's see. Bronn and Vardis continue the fight. Bronn's speed, reach, and use of familiar equipment allow him to chip away at the knight, who Bronn can't see half the time, or who can't see Bronn half the time thanks to his ridiculous bird helmet. Vardis gets in one good hit with a shield, but moments later his sword snaps in two. Bronn crushes his opponent beneath a statue of Alyssa Arryn, who then shows the court the true way to a man's heart is under the arm and through the ribcage. Robert Arryn still wants to play Splat the Lannister, but Lysa, perhaps for the first time ever, denies her lord's son, who then demonstrates his power to froth and shake like a denial-powered paint mixer.
What the fuck?
Dude. Tyrion and Bronn are free to leave, but then they are forced to take the treacherous high road. End. So that's my summary.
That's awesome.
How dare you demean paint mixers by comparing them to Robert Arryn?
Well, I'm just thinking of a job that he would be good at, you know?
Let's not think about him actually being handicapped in any way, because that's
no, but it's all caused by his frustration and his anger and everything, and that's what turns him on. Just
Dude.
He's powered by the power of no.
Sweet Robin's the prince that was promised. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, I think that review is actually more entertaining than reading the chapter itself. That's true.
So true. Did anyone else notice that Bronny uses Muhammad Ali's rope-a-dope strategy against Savadas? That made me happy.
Oh yeah.
So can you post that review on the forums so we can
absolutely
go through it word by word? I mean, that's going to be
sure.
We want to do a separate podcast just to review that review.
Okay.
No, definitely put it on. It's going to be great.
I'll post it as soon as we're done with this podcast. So yeah.
Great. I mean, I forgot what's in the chapter, but I like your review.
So it utterly failed as a review.
Yeah. So
there was a trial by combat.
There was a box of hair.
Yeah, box of hair.
Lysa totally keeps all of Sweet Robin's hair, that he's ever had cut off.
Oh, there we go.
Sure.
Yeah,
Ew.
Yeah, it's got some sort of magical properties or something. That's my crackpot theory.
Yeah. So, the two questions I had in this, well, one was about Lady Forlorn and Ice. They both have the exact same coloring and everything, metal-wise. So, do we think that those two swords have some shared history? Like maybe they're from the same forge, or
they're both Valyrian steel.
Well, besides the fact that they're the two that I can think of off the top that aren't in blatant reference to dick jokes, they're
Hardsbane?
Yeah, lamentation.
Have you guys looked at all the other names of awesome swords that we talked about?
Big joke.
The Sword of the Morning.
Sword of the Morning.
Well, Sword of the Morning. Okay,
It's not
obviously.
Valyrian steel.
Morning Wood. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Widow's Wail.
Widow's Wail.
Mm.
Widow's
Keeper.
Wail isn't a dick joke.
Oh, yes.
Could be.
Sex related, sorry.
Oh, what's Tarly's one? Heart Eater or Heartsbane?
Heartsbane.
Yeah, sorry. Not everybody, but some of them are fun.
Not that's good, but yeah, I don't think so. I think that about the coloring, I think it's just because Valyrian blades are that color. Only Valyrian blades that are colored specifically have a different color. I would.
So only ones that are colored specifically have a different color?
Well,
Yeah.
That's right. That makes sense.
Well, like Oathkeeper and stuff ended up differently by accident.
No. That stayed like the coloring stayed the same from when it was ice to when it became Oathkeeper and yeah.
No,
because he
had,
infused it with red or
streaks
something.
into it, right? And then it ended up all with like a weird swirl that he wasn't trying to do, and he's like, "I'm not that good at this."
I like the idea that the coloring might, be some sort of equivalent of, a blacksmith's mark. Like Mikken puts a mark on all his blades. Like the coloring is, sort of the old way that the Valyrians would mark their blades to kind of identify who made it. That's a really cool idea.
Maybe it's like depending on what kind of heart you run it through. So if you run it through a Stark's heart, then it's gonna go white and
or for his neck. Yeah.
But I mean, like, what do we really know about Valyrian steel anyway? Like, I mean, we know where it came from. We know how good it is and all that. But like, did everyone in Valyria just have tons of Valyrian steel, or was it still even kind of like a higher end, armament for them?
Yeah.
No, over there they just called it steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
in Brazil, we just call them nuts.
According to the World of Ice and Fire, well, in an extension to what's in the World of Ice and Fire, people have theorized that it takes a blood sacrifice to mold the iron to make the Valyrian steel sword. So I'm thinking that maybe this just connected to what kind of blood ritual they've done to make it the sword.
I don't think it's a blood ritual.
I mean, it could be forged in dragon fire. It could be forged with dragon's blood. We don't know anything
Children's
about
blood.
it.
No, because what's his name? Tobo Ma or whatever can work Valyrian steel, and there's no dragon's blood anymore.
Rework.
No, but I think rework, and I think this still takes blood to do it. Well, at least that's the theory, at least. Okay, so Kuhor had something about people being able to rework Valyrian steel swords as well. Valyrian steel, and there was something about blood and slaves and being sacrificed. So people just made the connection. So I'm not saying that's true, but it's kind of interesting to think about, at least, that it has to be, because a lot of magic in this world has to have like sort of a blood sacrifice, so it makes sense.
Okay.
Only death can
maybe.
take a life.
Well, it makes sense. Valyrians were big slavers, so it's not like they wouldn't have had plenty of blood and lives to spill and take. So yeah, it's a good possibility.
I just read that in the World of Ice and Fire, actually.
What?
That it was speculated that the slaves' blood or sacrifices or whatever kept the Valyrian magic alive or something like that.
Yeah.
Ew.
What?
Is that like a thing? I guess it must be if it's in Worlds of Ice and Fire.
I think it was, unless I read it on the forum.
I think that's been theories about it, and it's been sort of supported in the book. So.
Hey, Whiteraven.
Hey.
Whiteraven.
I'm here.
Okay, but from this chapter we don't actually know that. All we know is that when after the cat duel that Lysa spent time with Peter, we don't know she got knocked up from this chapter, do we? We find that out later.
Yeah, we find that out later.
Yeah, because you were sort of in your recap. It sort of sounded like we knew that, but at this point we don't.
Oh.
Anything else?
Bina said Wargasm 3 times.
Yeah.
This seems to make you ridiculously happy, Matt.
It does.
I'm a simple man.
They established Bronn as being a very badass fighter. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, don't
but
mess with
do
him.
you
He'll
reckon
die
someone
gurgling.
else could have beat him?
Could have beaten Bronn or beaten Sir Arden.
Like Lynn Corbray could
whatever.
have definitely cut Bronn down in that fight.
Do you
Oh, that's a
think?
good question.
Ooh.
That's a really good
I
question.
feel like he
because-
got very lucky with Lysa's choice there.
And also the fact that Lysa gave him the really heavy armor.
Well, no,
Not the armor,
And the new sword.
It wasn't armor. It was the sword that was like it sounded like a ceremonial sword more than anything. It was, it was ridiculous, and it was, and wasn't it carved?
And it immediately broke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ornamental.
Well, not
but-
immediately.
Well,
It's ornamental, but Kat notices
It
that
broke in the
Bronn
first
also
fight
has a
it
height and
was
reach
ever in.
advantage.
Bronn has, yeah.
Yeah, Bronn's got the height and reach advantage, and Kat guesses that he's about 15 years younger too.
But
And he's
Noah,
quicker.
Noah, why do you think Lynn Corbray would take out Bronn?
I don't know, maybe little boys give him strength.
gross.
Oh, welcome to the OK.
You think he's like diddling little Robert on the side?
Not
Oh,
little,
isn't that
oh,
theory?
not him,
Oh.
not Robert, but
Maybe once Lysa's gone.
Milkshake.
Maybe
Yeah.
Littlefinger's floated that up as a possibility to keep him on the payroll.
Oh, dude.
Do you think he's currently on Littlefinger's payroll? Or do you think that's later on?
Definitely now, I'd say.
You
Yeah,
think he
I'd say
already
it's
is?
up
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't he say he pays them in gold and little boys? And that's all he wants.
Yeah,
that's-
but it doesn't mean he is yet.
no. In this chapter, it just says that it's rumored that he likes guys. It's not. It isn't taken further yet. No.
No,
Yeah,
I don't think it's a gay thing. It's a pedophile thing.
It's what it is. Yeah, it's rumored that he has no interest in the intimate charms of women, I think is the quote.
Also,
Yeah.
Corbray steps right up when people are asking if anyone wants to represent the Vale. So he's sort of putting himself
Wow,
forward,
it's poetic
representing
and-
Well,
Littlefinger.
yeah, I guess he wants to make little Robert Aaron happy.
Yeah.
But did he?
Yeah,
He
did.
just said something about having a small sword. I don't think he said.
Yeah, something like that.
I think he made a jape. I don't know if he stepped up and offered his sword.
Yeah, it was like a
A
humble
jape?
brag. He didn't really intend to do the fighting. He was just sort of like getting the kudos for volunteering himself, but he wasn't really ever intending to do it, right?
Yeah, I think he knew that everyone was going to jump on, so he was throwing his voice into.
You know, it's like bidding first at an auction. You know, you're not going to have to pay for that thing at the end of the day.
$5.
In my chapter, I think is when it happens, right? In the one that I just did, I guess the Tyrion V, and he sounded pretty sincere, but maybe I read it wrong.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe I was
because-
just thinking of the wrong guy.
Doesn't he say something to the effect of, the gods are the one who judges, but ultimately it's the person who has the best sword arm or something to that effect?
Yeah, whoever has the surest sword or something like that.
Oh, surest. For some reason, I was thinking he said shortest, and I was like, was that guy like saying he's got a small dick? I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Oh, he says, I got it. He says, the gods favor the man with the just cause, yet often that turns out to be the man with the surest sword. We all know who that is.
I would have liked to
Anyway,
have seen him against
yeah,
Bronn.
I mean, just the very concept is just crazy. Like, whoever can have someone who kills the other person, then that's the truth. Like, right.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
part of
In this
Westeros.
world, the gods decide who lives and dies.
Yeah, they're like, well, the gods will bless. Like, but like in that case, it should be like, well, we know. Like, they should test it. It should be like, we know something to be true, so we're giving this like 10-year-old cripple a sword, and we're placing him against the mountain, and he's, who's gonna win, right? Oh, well, the 10-year-old crippled won. The gods chose him. Like,
Well,
if that doesn't
isn't it
happen,
like,
then just give it up.
Isn't
You
it
just
like
described
the
David and
witch
Goliath.
trials? Isn't it like the witch trials where, like, if they drown the witch, like she was innocent, but it's
Yeah.
like
That
he
was
floated?
just some really clever dudes coming up with a way they can't lose.
That's
Like,
called
like if you drowned, are bad.
You're innocent.
If
You're
you
innocent.
don't drown, I was right, and then we kill you anyway. So you're dead.
Yeah,
Like,
catch
like
22. You'll be right, but you'll be dead. Yep.
The accusation is a death sentence either way.
Yeah, but this is kind of like a highly religious society, so that kind of makes sense for these people. I mean, if the gods get to decide, okay, the gods get to decide. They do actually honor that, and they let Tyrion walk. So,
But I mean, highly religious, but like, I don't know, like maybe it's just the characters we come across. Like, we don't come across many people that seem to genuinely believe any of it.
Sansa
Yeah,
said-
it's-
Well, Tyrion
Catelyn
doesn't.
Tyrion uses it, he may not believe it.
But like, it seems like
Right.
most of the people. It seems like because we're mostly dealing with the people in power who are just like whatever. Like most of the common people probably do. Then.
It's more like a code of laws to them than it is an actual religious belief.
Yeah.
No, because they have a theology, they pray. I mean, they have actual churches and established, dogmas.
No, I'm not saying they don't have religion, but I'm saying the whole trial idea is more like a code of laws where they're like, yeah, you get a trial.
They respect it. It's just like, this is the law.
Okay, so it's kind of like if the laws of men fail you, you can always throw it up to the justice of the gods, and good luck with that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Trump card of Westeros.
Now, what about like all of the weirwood that's up there at the Eyrie? Like, what's going on there? Because didn't they become followers of the Seven?
They don't grow. The weirwood don't grow at the Eyrie.
Yeah, they specifically say that they won't take in the thin soil up there.
Yeah, it's.
You know who can't see up there? Bloodhaven.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, I thought the Royces.
Thousand eyes and none.
Oh yeah, you missed another piece of crackpot. The one-eyed crone is being warded by Whiteraven or by Bloodraven.
By Whiteraven.
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 Whiteraven of the Dosh Kali.
You've made it into canon.
The crone's like, winter's here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Do
what?
the Royces
Royces
have a
do
heart
that.
tree? A weirwood?
Yeah, I think most of the houses of the Vale have one.
I think it's just in the Eyrie they can't.
Oh, okay. Just the area specific.
Yeah, that high up in the Eyrie, there's not enough like fertile soil for them to take root. So yeah, I would assume that the Royces would have one. They're in what, Runestone?
Yeah. Do they have a stone godswood?
But how does the stone godswood work? I mean, don't you need the organic weirwood to sort of have the magics?
Yeah, I kind of doubt
Right,
they were
like-
hauling like petrified gods, weirwood trees
Well,
up.
Doesn't need to be be able to go into soil to be able to like connect to the weirwood network to be able to be part of things. Like they don't have Wi-Fi, so.
Well, they don't have one in King's Landing, yet they still call it a godswood.
They have a godswood, but they don't have a heart tree, right?
Yeah,
Right,
that's
they
what I
just
mean.
have like an oak or something. Same with River Run, right?
Yeah, maybe like a lot of evergreens or something, so that it'll take root in that shallow soil.
Can a green
All
seer
right.
see through the eyes of a regular tree?
The regular trees don't have eyes, man.
Oh, good point. They're just
Some of
carved in,
them-
though.
Yeah, some trees do get phases carved into them later, but it's I think that the weirwood is the ultimate for the to receive a phase because it's so long lived. But they aren't outside of Winterfell, aren't there like newly carved faces later from the wildlings? Or am I just making that up?
No, you're not.
They probably have like a forest, like a godswood, but it probably just doesn't have weirwood trees. Just have some other kind of tree there, just like in
there's
King's
no-
Landing.
So what makes a godswood then?
Well-
If I go and pray in a wood, does that make it a godswood? Doesn't it have to have a weirwood tree?
It doesn't. So like that would be the heart tree, which would be like the centerpiece of a proper godswood. But I think that
But,
Do you have to have a
But-
church to
but
pray
I think
before
they
bed?
said that a lot of the ones in
Right.
the South just don't have that anymore. But like
Right.
what makes
Right,
it a
'cause they're all
godswood, I
cut
guess
down.
that it's like it's a designated area that's like a preserve that's for God stuff. Like I don't like that seems to be about it. Like it's like where you go to pray and be quiet, and no one can do other stuff there. Maybe I don't know. They have weddings there, right? So
Okay.
Does it take a ritual to get it started?
I don't know, but it seems like most of them are in are owned by lords, right? Like it doesn't seem like the peasants just that area over there, that's the Godswood area. It seems like it's like a closed in area, or like like in a town, or like it's sort of like like you have green space in a town, I guess, like like
It's-
Central Park or something, right?
it's
So-
like a central arboretum or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would definitely not be every single castle that had a godswood. It would definitely be only
No.
the older ones who maybe already has like sort of a connection to the first men or right thereafter. So it's just a
There's
relic.
only a few in the south, a few weirwoods, aren't there?
Yeah, almost no weirwoods beneath the neck, but
And why did they put one in the Red Keep? What was I mean, I'm sure that's explained somewhere, but I don't remember.
No, they didn't.
I think
have
due to
it.
custom.
It's just a godswood. That's
That's what I'm saying. Like, why did they put a Godswood in then?
I seriously
Well,
just think Yeah, I think that the Targaryens are just the kind of rulers there that would just assimilate all sorts of culture to make themselves more into like more rightful rulers in the eyes of their subjects.
So
So
like the Godswood and King's Landing there, I mean, it was put there as like kind of a token for taking the North in as part of the Seven Kingdoms. Then, right? Like, that's the reason for it existing, because none of the other houses keep the old gods, right?
The Royces do.
Yeah.
On to Tyrion VI. So after Tyrion's trial, Tyrion V, we skip over John V, and I think it is Adam.
Tyrion, ever the victorious conqueror, wins his trial by combat and gets to go free and all is right in the world, or not so much. He's basically being kicked out of the Vale and left for dead, him and Bronn, because the mountain tribes will eat them alive. They're not given an escort. And Bronn basically just wants to leave him behind because he can travel faster on his own and has much less chance of dying that way. But Tyrion flashes the gold, and the promise of gold. He reminds him that if anyone were ever gonna want him to betray him, that he would match the price. He reveals that he did indeed follow through with his promise to Mord, giving him the gold, and gave him an invitation basically to come to Casterly Rock, which is kind of weird, but also maybe makes sense at the same time. It's a very short chapter. Not a lot goes on. I mean, they're traveling through, and then they run into the mountain clans at the end. But there's one very important bit here, is that Tyrion recounts the story of Tysha. I always forget how young everyone is when things happen in the book. So I mean, Tyrion was 13. Him and Jaime are on the road. Some bandits are attacking a girl. Jaime saves them and rides off after the bandits, while Tyrion takes this traumatized girl to a local inn, and I guess that's kind of what puts her in the mood. They end up getting drunk and getting into it, and which seems kind of weird to me, but hey, that's how George writes.
Roast chicken is an aphrodisiac.
Yeah, and being attacked on the road, by whatever. And she seemed also like she was kind of young. I don't recall if it said the age, but yeah. So he ends up marrying her, and just kind of crazy. So they spend a couple weeks just being a married 13-year-old, which is absolutely nuts. And Tywin is pretty upset by this. Obviously, he has Jaime reveal that it was all a lie, that it was actually a whore that he bought. And he, made sure that since he knew it was going to be Tyrion's first time, he wanted to get him, a virgin, so he paid extra, blah, 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 which, of course, breaks Tyrion's heart. And we find out later, of course, this is a huge deal to Tyrion's plot development and just the relationship with Jaime and everything later, that's all BS. Basically, Tywin just didn't want him to marry this girl. She's a crofter's daughter, which is, I guess, I think a crofter is kind of just sort of like a mini farmer, kind of, right? Like, I don't really know what a crofter is, but I think
yeah, I think so.
They work the land, they have animals, it's basically just like, a low level vassal of Tywin. It's such a sad story. Tywin takes all of his, I don't know how many men it is, but he takes his house guard, or just maybe the people who were in the chamber or something, and they all have sex with Tysha and give her a silver, and then he makes Tyrion, in just like maybe the worst Tywin moment ever, he makes Tyrion do it and give her a gold because he's a Lannister and Lannisters are worth more, and sends her on her way. And yeah, it's not a very long story, but it's very hard to read. And it's something that doesn't come up for a while, but then it comes up quite strong in a few books.
It's worse, isn't it? Because you've got to assume that some of the people who just happened to be in his entourage also didn't want to rape this girl. I mean, some of them probably knew about it, right? So, just like how much fear do you have of this guy that you will? I mean, I can see Tyrion because he's so messed up, but it's just horrible. It speaks to how horrible Tywin is and
And,
how
and
feared he is.
Tyrion's probably torn between like he's being pissed off at his father and at Jaime, but then he's pissed off at her, and just like he spent all this time and he thought he had, for the first time in his life, probably he thought he had a nice little thing going, and so and then he ends the fact that he ends up doing it. I guess he's 13, and his father's forcing him, and he's probably distraught and angry. So you can't really fault him. I guess at this point, it's I guess it's a little surprising given what we hear from him, but I could see someone in that situation just being like, oh man, screw this girl lied to me, but then after all these other men, and I'm sure some of them had families and probably didn't want to do it either, like, yeah, it's terrible.
Sounds weird, but I don't even know how Tyrion would have gotten it up after like watching all that. I don't think he
seriously
well, well, doesn't he say his body betrayed him or something?
Oh,
like
maybe
he was surprised that he got up.
He wanted her anyway. Otherwise, he would have been just roping it in there.
Because he'd been weeks with her, and he was just so in love with her. But it was like the worst. Like he's probably crying while he does it. It's just like all these other visuals that aren't on the page, but you're like, you have to assume like it was just any sort of like shittiness that Tyrion has with his little quips and stuff. And you're like, well, man, look what happened to him. Like, like no wonder. Like just not everything else that ever happened in his life. Just this one thing would be enough to turn someone, jaded and cynical.
Well, he has his quips, but for the most part, he's a good person.
No,
like,
he is.
He's always looking out for other people.
Sometimes he's a bit, he's a bit crass and he's a bit of a dick. Like, just because he's straightforward with stuff, right? Other people don't like that. Like, we see that as like he's just being honest and it's a good thing. But, in continuity, people are kind of like, like this guy needs to shut his mouth. He's, he has all these, nasty rumors about him. Anyway, after all that, and earlier in the chapter, Tyrion wanted to light a fire because he's a fucking idiot. And Bronn's like, that's when Bronn was like, I could just leave. Like, don't light a fire, moron. So they run into, is it the Storm Crows, I think, or the Stone Crows, and they're gonna kill him before Tyrion is promising them gold and all kinds of things. When they're just like, no, we're gonna take what we want from you. And he's like, you guys are fucking short-sighted. He's like, follow me down, and my father will give you weapons so that you can, long-term, you can actually stand a chance against the Knights of the Vale. Because right now, you've got, bullshit weapons, and that's why you don't get anywhere. Like, he calls them out, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I face my enemies. You guys fucking hide, and, you only come to, us poor defenseless travelers, while your real enemies you never face.
It was a gutsy move, man. Like, he knew he had to, like, come in hard with something. Right?
And I think that was it. It was like either I play my hand like I'm 3 feet tall or whatever, but I've still got power. I just play this completely confident, and either hopefully that tricks them, or that gets them to believe me and gives me a chance to get down and follow through with what I'm telling them, or if I'm half scared about it, if I don't do something kind of brass, then maybe they'll just fucking kill me or take me captive anyway and ignore what I'm saying.
Yeah, 'cause what's his choice at this point? Because everyone's saying that they're going to die on this road regardless. So he may as well try and, bluster his way through.
Yep.
It's a ballsy move. Yeah, but he's got no other choice really, so why not?
Yeah, and the odds definitely were they were going to die. So, it's very surprising to everyone that they live.
Yeah, it's really surprising that the Mountain Clans actually believe Tyrion. Like, really? You have access to a whole bunch of arms and armor? Not so sure about this one.
Well, he definitely, like, plays to their simple pride, right? Like,
yeah.
Kind of calls them out for being cowards.
They kind of don't believe him, right? And then he just kind of keep pushing. And I think in later chapters, they're like, well, we're going to stay by you until you deliver, or we're going to kill you, right? So
yeah,
they still don't just give him free reign.
So, who thinks that Tyrion is Aerys' son?
Nope.
Whoa,
No.
that came out.
I just
don't
think
want
whether
him
he
to
is or he isn't, I hope it's never addressed and doesn't matter.
It's just because there'd be some similarities, or maybe the way Tywin treats Tyrion in this like memory might have something to do with his knowledge of his wife's affair or rape with Aerys.
Oh, it could be.
could
think
be.
just of all of the kids that the one that exudes the most Ariesness is Cersei more than anyone. But like you can't have her, her be the only one that's Aries' kid. So yeah, I think it's all wishful thinking. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I think like the fact that Tyrion is so not like a Targaryen in many ways. Like he didn't end up crazy. He ended up, deformed by their standards, right? There's a lot. I think that it's like that's a theory that's best that like let's say the books end and he becomes a dragon rider and just like all the sort of stuff points to that, but it's just never addressed. I think that's the best because then it's still something that you can be like, oh, it's basically confirmed, or no, it's not. It's something people can still debate, and it's sort of left open ended. And I think it's something we don't need an answer to.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly like notions and hints that it may be a possibility. Like in this chapter, he dreams that he's a jailer and he's torturing his dad, and of course Targaryens have prophetic dreams and stuff like that. But I mean, it's not something that ever needs to be clearly defined. It doesn't take away from the story or validate any part of it. So yeah, I think it's good as is, and it's more interesting this way.
Maybe I'm just saying that if it actually turns out to be true, then might be some different motives for Tywin's, would he have done the same thing to Jaime?
Hey,
If Jaime,
Jaime would have never been in that situation.
are you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, he
yeah.
never would have married a whore. He has no reason to. Women probably
no,
throw
he has a
themselves to him.
sister.
Oh yeah,
No, I'm
and
No whore should
Tywin's not
take her
gonna be
from
like,
her.
"Oh, I'm gonna make all the guard f your sister."
Yeah,
and you're gonna do it last.
no, I'm just saying if
Well, that would
Jaime-
confirm he's a Targaryen.
Jaime was just saying the trueborn son. If a trueborn son had done the same thing like Jaime, and Jaime for some reason didn't have Cersei or wasn't that crazy hot, and just did the same thing, did the exact same thing, would Tywin had done the same thing to him?
Oh, do you
Maybe
mean
not
like
Probably.
Jaime went out and married
Yeah,
a
but-
crofter's daughter?
Yeah,
I think he would have done the
no.
same
Yeah, he
thing.
Yeah,
would.
absolutely.
No, to Jaime, I don't think he would have at all.
I think he would
Absolutely.
have.
I think he would have dealt with it, and he would have privately humiliated Jaime. But Jaime is his heir and his public face.
Sharp
He
lesson.
would
Yeah, he
not.
wouldn't have done
He
it
wouldn't have
so
done this.
publicly.
No way.
Yeah.
Because Jaime is an extension of himself. That's how Tywin
Actually,
views it.
actually, Tyrion is his heir.
Technically.
Yeah.
Well, not now, not
Not
now.
at this point though.
No, not like back then.
Not
like, he
back
had
when that
the
happened, you mean.
Kingsguard
Yeah,
or-
yeah,
That's
okay.
what I'm saying. It's like this is the prize son, and even we know even now is that he kind of still views Jaime as like the number one.
How old was Jaime when? How much older than Tyrion is Jaime?
Like 9 years?
Yes.
He
Yeah.
It
he
would've
became
been-
in the Kingsguard at like 15 or 16.
It would have been a couple. I thought
16.
they were only. How many years are they?
And Tyrion was only 13, so
Oh, cause maybe you're right. Cause why would he have been hanging out with Jaime on the road then? Like, what was he
why
doing?
not?
Why wasn't he?
Is that a
Well,
plot
'cause-
hole?
no, but yeah, because the ages don't line up. Because it always said that like after he joined the Kingsguard and like it didn't take very long. Let me see.
Well,
I guess
Jaime
it
always-
would have been after the rebellion and everything, right?
No, it would have been
Jamie
part of
always
the
gets a
rebellion.
free pass with his Kingsguard stuff.
No, but this
he always
this
wears his
would
own
have been-
armor and
It wouldn't make sense because Ares kept him in King's Landing. Like he didn't let him go home.
This could have been after Ares, though.
Yeah, this is
because
after
Tywin
yeah,
wouldn't
I mean,
have been
it
in
would
King's
after
Landing.
the rebellion.
It
So
could have been
maybe
after the rebellion.
Maybe he spent more time at home after that.
Well, if Cersei was there, he
Yeah.
would have followed her.
Yeah.
In regards to Tywin, I always like the idea that Tywin's not even sure if Tyrion's his or not.
I think he hopes he's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know for sure, so he kind of has this back and forth of like, "You're
don't
my
think he
heir, I
has.
hate you."
There should be a Westeros paternity test, man. There should be like a Lord Maury or something who's got like he's got like, some old magic or something that's like you are the father.
You mix the blood with like weirwood sap, and if it turns blue, it's the same. If it turns green, they're
But,
not.
like they both have to like they both piss on something, and if the colors of this, it's like based on pH, so it's all bullshit. But then like everyone believes it anyway. Like nope, you're not the father either. Fuck. Why does anyone go to this guy? No one's ever the father.
So the part with where Tyrion's talking about Bronn is mentioning, like whether he be 13 or 30, like he would have killed the man that did that to him, like is that Tyrion basically, like contemplating having Bronn kill his father then?
of course.
Yeah.
Planting the seeds.
Yeah, a
The
little
seed is strong.
foreshadowing.
The seed is strong.
The
Tyrion
maple
is just
seed.
awful in love, though. Jesus. This and then Shay, it's not a great run for him.
It's just generally Tywin fucking his love life up for him, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think Shay's actually a special case because he said he's bedded thousands of whores and he's never fallen in love with others.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Maybe he
that
didn't allow him
Tywin
to.
also.
Maybe they weren't funny.
Yeah.
But Tywin also fucked that one up.
He can't
Well,
blame
he-
Tywin for Penny, and that's horrible, the way that relationship goes down.
Well, Penny was ugly.
Yeah, but the damage has already been done to Tyrion at that point.
Has anyone read the theory that Penny is actually Tyrion's daughter because he's really bad
Yeah.
at ages? and everything?
Yeah, I heard that.
It's gonna be horrible.
Yeah,
I'm-
except
I'm-
that she actually
That W.
references her own father as a dwarf, and so that theory is BS too.
Really? Are you sure?
I judged it.
Yeah,
I mean, no. Yeah, but I'm just saying you can always know who the mother is, but can you know who the father is? I'm just saying.
Well, according to the R plus L equals D, you can't even know who the mother is.
No. Fair enough.
Okay. Anything more in this chapter?
Yes, about the clansmen.
Yep.
These guys are going to play a massive role coming forwards. I've got a feeling.
What do you think they're going to do?
You think so?
Oh yeah. Well,
They're gonna
I feel
hang
like they're
out
going to
for
be.
half a book and be gone.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to come back to Sansa's aid because she's still married to Tyrion technically.
God, I hope so.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
I would
How
like her
weird-
as like.
How weird would that be?
That would be
Feeding-
awesome.
Feeding Baelish's manhood to the goats. I could enjoy that.
Yeah,
That,
with an
that's
axe.
that's actually
Wow.
my favorite crackpot theory of the week. I mean.
Yeah, I had not thought about that at all. That's amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it? You read these books so many times, and yet someone can still come up with something that's A, plausible, and B, would be awesome that you didn't think of before. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I like that.
Thanks, guys.
Where are they at this point? Where are the Stone Crows hanging out?
In the King's
Are they kind of like? Do they still think of themselves as loyal to Tyrion now that he's just fucked off and left them?
Well, they got paid handsomely.
Right,
Tywin
Tywin
paid them well.
dismissed.
And they left him on his deathbed, basically. Like, remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, but they were forced to leave after the battle. You know. He
But
lost
they
all
may
his men.
they may still view themselves as owing him something, or as owing him a favor in some way.
Yeah, they'd be sympathetic to his cause. That's for sure.
Now that they've been paid handsomely, how far do they view themselves as free? Like that?
I think it's just tit for tat. They got paid for what they did, and now they're off on their own. I don't think they would
Yeah.
have any kind of like, oh, she's a half man's wife. Let's protect her. I don't think that would actually.
Well,
I like the idea.
No.
But if Tyrion came back and was offering big fat cash again, they'd be.
Well, I mean, now they've got armor and arms and everything, and they're going back to the Vale. They're gonna just go run amok there and everything, right? Like, I mean,
Well,
that's
How
the
many of
whole
them
point.
died though?
But
fighting
did
for
they
Tyrion?
though? Like,
Yeah, in later chapters. It's like the Klansmen have been more.
they've been more bold or something.
Bold because they have steel weapons now, or something like that.
They haven't like taken over a castle or really done anything major.
But that's interesting though. So they're on their way to the Vale, which is where Sansa is, and yeah, those parties could meet.
Well, the idea is that Baelish is obviously going to send the Knights of the Vale probably north, I'd imagine, or he's going to.
Why?
Why?
He's gonna march
Why?
them somewhere.
Seems like it.
In the show.
Well, no, that's
Oh,
part
in
of
the
the
show.
plan.
No
You-
show talk. No show talk.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Shut it
that,
down. Shut it
That
down.
makes sense.
Shut it down.
that's part of Baelish's plan is to. That's part of Baelish's plan to marry Sansa to Harry the Heir, and then reveal her as a Stark and go take the North.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
For some reason, I thought you meant
either
to the
going to
wall.
march on the Boltons or he's going to march south and take
Hmm.
advantage of the chaos with Aegon or Fagon.
Or he'll
whichever way you
finally
call
go to Harrenhal.
No, he won't.
that. Yeah.
No, he
Never.
won't do that.
So what do you think now? You think he's going to the north then, basically, and then
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like the Knights of the Vale, I mean, it's anyone's guess where they'll go, but I feel like they're going to leave the Vale and the clansmen are going to seize the opportunity and fuck shit up.
Right, and she'll be like,
I like
I'm
that
Tyrion's
idea.
wife, and they're like, what?
yeah, they'll be behind her until she marries Stannis, and then
Well, if the Tyrion's wife thing comes into play, or just the fact that all the knights have left and it's a poorly defended area now.
The other thing I wonder about, I guess, I don't know if it's ever really explained, is how many clans there are, how big of a presence they have. Like,
Yeah, numbers.
There was like 5 clans, and yeah, their numbers are unknown. I think.
Is Chella still alive? She was awesome. It was Chella, right? The chick that cut off the people's ears.
Oh yeah, and wore him as a necklace.
Another thing they do mention in this chapter is Bronn talks about how on the road up when is it One of
Chega.
the yeah
Chicken.
no
Chicken.
one,
Chicken.
yeah chicken. One of the other people that was escorting them took an arrow, and he just like slipped the knife under his throat, and he's like, he would have done the same for me. He's like, he was dead weight, and he just told Kat that, oh yeah, he died of his injuries or whatever.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
Bron gave him.
Yeah.
He's like, he would have wanted me
old
to do
and the
this
new.
time.
Crazy, innit? We know nothing about Bronn, and this is all we hear is that he was riding with this guy.
Right, he just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, and he was just at the inn at the
Wait,
right
wait.
time, and we know
Oh,
nothing
no.
else about him.
Do you think he
could-
has an agenda
Could
then?
be Sirio.
Yeah,
Agent of
money.
Popeye.
I was thinking Dario personally, because he disappears after
Oh.
after Tyrion kills Tywin.
Oh, Mord is Dario too, because they both have gold teeth.
He uses that
I
gold
didn't
to
know-
dye his hair blue.
And Dario had a big white belly. I don't think Danny would have been so attracted to that.
Yeah, he was
It's a
what,
glamour,
what,
Why not
man.
just
20
bang
stone,
Belwas?
280 pounds.
Well, Belwas at least is svelte now, right? After the poisoning.
Oh, probably.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's like
fat.
lost so much weight.
Probably looks like a cancer patient now.
He's just like bags of skin.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Anything else on the
Yeah.
chapter? Okay, so after Tyrion VI, we are skipping back 5 chapters to Bran V.
So this chapter opens up with Bran getting ready to test out his new saddle and horse out beyond the walls of Winterfell. Joseph, the temporary master of horse, has trained a 2-year-old chestnut filly named Dancer and used the specifications that Tyrion provided on his saddle design that would allow Bran to ride. He even said that Dancer is smarter than any horse had a right to be, and after several trainings in the practice yard, they're ready to try it out in the real world out to the Wolfswood. Joining Bran will be his brother Robb, Summer, Greywind, Theon, who's bringing a bow and arrow, looking to maybe bag a deer in the woods, Joseph, Master Lewin, and 4 house guards. They ride out. We get a little bit of information of the area surrounding Winterfell.
Lewin's ass.
They ride through the market square, through Wintertown, which fills up when the snows start falling with the small folk who are normally out working the fields in the other seasons. And a couple of miles further out, they come to the edge of the Wolfswood. After a bit, Bran and Robb opt to go a bit faster, and they quickly outpace the other members of the group, but they do stop outside the Wolfswood. And Robb uses this as an opportunity to bring Bran up to speed on recent events. And we learn that some ravens have arrived with some troubling news. One comes from the wall, says that Benjen is still missing. Another comes from Kat, which stated she took Tyrion prisoner and was in the Vale. And actually, the one from Kat also causes Robb to discuss the situation with Lewin, Theon, and the acting captain of the guard. And he ends up sending riders out throughout the north with some commands. So actually, it appears that Kat did send word of Ned's orders to Robb, and Robb is carrying those orders out, as Bran recalled hearing that Moat Cailin was mentioned in those orders. The most recent message is from King's Landing, and it relates the death of Jory, Will, who were killed by Jaime Lannister in the ambush. And it also says that Ned had his leg shattered and that Grand Maester Pycelle is attending to him, and they have no idea when he's going to wake up. And this is kind of interesting because we know in this linear reread that Ned is already awake by this time. So it sort of gives us a little bit of an idea as to how slowly news travels from King's Landing to the north.
Yeah, good point.
Robb swears to Bran that these transgressions aren't going to be forgotten, and so it seems that Robb has a little bit of vengeance on the mind. We also learn that Theon has been encouraging Robb to call the banners and march to war, while Maester Lewin has been cautioning him against it. They decide they're going to head back to Winterfell, but Summer and Greywind have run off hunting in the Wolfswood, so they need to go and collect them before heading home. Robb and Bran go in, looking for them, and again they get separated from the rest of the party. They end up crossing a stream, and they hear the direwolves howling in celebration of making a kill. Robb has Bran wait by the river for Theon and the others to catch up while he goes and fetches the wolves. After a little bit, Bran hears the rustle of leaves, and he expects it to be Theon and the others, but it turns out it's actually a bunch of wildlings and some deserters from the Wall. The strangers are Stiv, Wallen, who are dressed in faded garb, 2 women, Osha and Helly, and 2 other men. Initially, they're about to rob Bran, but once they realize Bran's a Stark, Osha suggests taking him back over the Wall to Mance Rayder, as Mance may want to have him as a hostage. The others somewhat disagree, as they're running the hell away from the White Walkers, and White Walkers apparently don't care if you have a crippled hostage. Fortunately, Robb returns with Greywind, as Stiv, who is starting to cut Bran out of his saddle, slices open his leg, and threatens to kill them mercifully if they give up now. He also calls up Greywind and Summer, and they take down a few foes right away. Robb runs Osha down, injuring her but not killing her. Summer ends up attacking Holly and ends up tearing out her belly. One of the other wildlings, seeing that the fight is going really, really bad, tries to run off. But, as the old saying goes, if you try to run, you're only going to die tired. Greywind easily catches up to him and takes him down, getting another kill. Stiv, seeing that running isn't much of an option, tries another tactic and finishes cutting Bran loose and holds him hostage, putting a knife to his throat. He then tells Robb to call off the wolves, and Robb, not wanting to put his little brother's life in danger, does. An injured Osha gets back up to her feet, and when Stiv tells her to kill the direwolves, she pretty much tells him no way he can do it himself, wanting
Go fuck
nothing to
yourself.
do.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
that.
You see that big thing in 4 legs, hair, and teeth? Go kill it. Go to hell. It's pretty much her response. Stiv then orders Robb to do it, threatening it's either the wolves or Bran. Fortunately, it doesn't come to that because Theon puts an arrow through his back, killing him from behind. Osha gives up and begs Robb for mercy, and just as the other house guards and Maester Luwin are slowly riding up, which, hey, way to go, guys. Thanks for, taking care of things. Theon then delivers what I think is probably his best quote in the entire novel. A dead enemy is a thing of beauty. And for some reason, Robb doesn't find the humor in that, and he starts berating Theon for taking and putting Bran's life at risk, pointing out there's a whole bunch of things that could have gone wrong. Theon points out that Robb really should be thanking him for saving Bran's life, and then Robb begins to argue with the house guards, wanting to know where they were. One of the house guards, Quent, speaks up, indicating that because Maester Luwin is riding on an ass and Theon was hunting, that it slowed them down. And Theon points out that, hey, we had no idea you were just going to leave your little brother in the middle of this desolate woodland all alone by himself. Luwin checks out Bran's leg. It's nothing serious. Robb decides to send the heads of the 2 Night Watch deserters back to the wall and to leave the bodies of the wildlings for the crows. The chapter ends with Robb deciding not to feed Osha to Summer and Greywind, as Theon is suggesting they do, but to take her as a captive back to Winterfell for questioning. And I kind of like the nice little bit of symmetry that this chapter has with a future chapter where, Robb rides off to take care of a problem, and in both chapters, Bran's life ends up in jeopardy. And where here he's saved by Theon from the Iron Islands and put at risk by Osha and the wildlings. Later on, Bran gets saved by Osha, the wildling, when his life is put in danger from Theon and the rest of the Iron Islanders who take Winterfell.
Well, I don't think his life was ever in danger from Theon, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It would have been if Reek had taken over Ramsay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think he killed Bran or Rickon though.
No, but
He wouldn't
could
have lost so
done.
much control if they hadn't been gone, like missing. I don't think he would have lost control like he did.
But he wasn't. I mean, he lost control because he had 20 men for the whole of Winterfell.
Well, that and the kids went missing, and then he made promises that he couldn't back up, and then he pretended to kill them, and then they lost everything.
And also his sister didn't show up with reinforcements like he expected.
Well, she showed up, just not with reinforcements.
Right.
Okay, showing up with 5 guys or 10 guys does not constitute showing up with reinforcements.
She told him, "Let's get the fuck out of here," and he was like, "No, this is my castle." She's like, "Well, good luck with it."
When Robb gets frustrated and someone basically steals his idea to be the hero, he lashes out, and he does the same thing to Edmure later in River Run, like when Edmure does what he asked him to, but not the way he wanted it, because it ruined his plans. He lashes out and gets all pissy.
What do you think his plans were here?
I don't know. I mean, he wanted to be the one that saved him. He rolled up and he thought he was going to scare him away or something, and
He's like, "I was about to throw a dagger into his eye. Why did you shoot him with an
about to kill
arrow?"
the entire world. I don't know. He wants to be the hero, and he gets upset when he doesn't get to be.
All right.
I'm not so much
think?
sure it's that, because, I mean, he showed up and he said, let him go and I'll make all your deaths easy, so that's not exactly
He's not the best negotiator.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
he says that, it's like, "Oh, Robb."
Diplomacy is not his strong suit, clearly. Stick to warfare, kid.
He is his father's son.
But he's also
Exactly.
super young here, isn't he? I mean, when he's acting all angsty and sort of petulant and throwing his toys out of the pram, he is only about 15 or so at this point, right? So
And that's exactly what his father would have said to them. You're right. his father would have been like, "Put down your weapons and you'll have a quick death."
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
I don't think Ned would have let it go to that situation in the first place.
Right. He would have waited so that Theon could go
Yeah.
find his fucking turkey.
He
or
wouldn't leave
whatever,
his
and
son
someone
alone,
show
yeah.
up.
I don't know. I mean, you had the prologue, not the prologue, but the first chapter when Theon and Robb are riding out in front and everything.
And Ned does leave his fucking defenseless daughters in King's Landing while he decides to basically just go fuck things up. So yeah.
I don't know. I mean, do you think Robb is right to yell at Theon for shooting that guy in the back? I mean, is that really
sure.
is that really unnecessarily putting Bran in danger, or do you think Theon at this point is a good enough shot to be trusted to take that shot?
It's on the point of view how good is Theon with an arrow. I could see someone who is proficient enough with an arrow to be able to know not to hit Bran, but yeah.
I think Robb was just
isn't
frustrated.
it in prior chapters said Theon is best with bow and arrow?
He's good. He shoots the crows out of the air too and makes her a feather
Right.
That's really good.
hat.
Yeah, he's good.
But I think he was just frustrated and upset, not just with them and himself, because of the whole situation went down, and he had to lash out at somebody. Because he lashed out at Theon, then the people. I mean, then his guards. I mean, he was just upset with the whole situation.
Right, he's upset. Well, and because it's his fault. I mean, he left his brother.
Yeah, it was his fault, but he's trying to shoulder some of the blame, but brush a bunch of it off on other people because he just can't believe what happened.
I'm totally with the fact that it's easy to just picture it now and be like, oh well, Theon's a good shot. Shouldn't have been so upset with him if you're Robb. But I probably would have totally acted the exact same way. Just been still just whoa, dude. Even if you're even if I know you're a good shot, if you are really close to hitting my younger brother, I would have been reacting the exact same way.
But he was a cripple anyway. Who cares?
Ouch.
Oh.
Catelyn cares.
Oh.
Whiteraven cares.
Well, it is Robb's heir right now.
But we're all agree that Bran becomes someone evil, right? He's not on the side of the good people. So if he had died at this point, it wouldn't have been a bad thing.
I don't know. I mean,
he just becomes a tool of Whiteraven, right?
Well, we know that reeds are tasty.
No, they aren't tasty, are they?
They become tasty.
No, they're bitter, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. And then they explode in your mouth into goodness and everything you have.
It's like maple syrup.
Really, dude?
Yeah, that's what I said. Same thing happens to Dany, and she even remembers it tasting like Drogo's seed.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And later
That's
on,
right.
when she, and then she smells his hair, and before he's on the pyre and everything, and she just smells, and he smells like horse and semen. It's awful.
No. When she drinks the stuff,
the House of the Undying.
Nightshade.
Yeah, it tastes at first it's bitter, but then it explodes into all these different flavors, and Drogo's seed is one of them. And it's the same
Stop
thing
saying
with
explodes, man.
Well, I think it's an
Boom.
excellent...
Stop saying seed.
Explodes.
I'm sorry.
Well,
it tastes like the semen of Drogo.
Wargasm.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Well, and then Cersei even too. She loves that's how she finishes off Robert, because she and she loves eating it because that she knows that she's eating his kids. It shows.
Yeah.
Ew.
It's so disgusting. It's so she's such an evil woman.
Dear. Anything else on this chapter?
Is that the same Kyra that Ramsay names a dog
Yep.
after?
Yep.
Yeah.
What about the horse being too clever for its own good and stuff like that? Do you think George originally meant for the horse and Bran to be Wart or something like that?
No.
No.
Shoot it right down. No.
I just.
You guys are so harsh.
So why not? Do you have a reason?
Because it didn't happen.
Because Bran wargs dumb things, not smart things.
Nobody. You can't warg into herbivore. It's just stupid.
Okay.
Then you take after their traits, and then you.
This isn't Animorphs, guys.
Well, doesn't somebody even say it later on that you don't warg into prey animals because you'll become a prey animal, kind of?
Right, you take on their features. Yeah, you become more docile and skittish and whatnot.
Yeah, that's why everybody wargs into carnivores
Predators.
and hunters.
But that's 3 books later. I mean, he hasn't made everything up by then. I don't think that's a valid reason for George not doing it, or might not have a plan for it at that point. I mean, he could possibly have thought that it would be cool for Bran to have like a horse he could mentally steer.
Yeah, I guess it's
Yeah,
possible.
but it's cooler that he has Hodor.
Yeah, as a Hodor, he
cool.
can mentally steer.
Yeah.
He even rides on him like a horse.
He's like master.
He has the
blaster.
same basket. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yay for exploiting handicapped people.
Well, he's
What?
handicapped himself, so it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you complete me, Hodor. You complete me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Did we talk about this, like whether or not Bran can say anything else? Like, he only says Hodor when he's in Hodor because he doesn't want people to know. But do
Well,
you think he
that's-
could say other things?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't he want to tell, what's the girl's name that he loves her?
Mira?
Mira.
Yeah, so it's like, Mira, what's up?
It's me, Bran.
Yeah, you know,
Casually, like lean up against the wall.
Yeah, you know who's got full use of his legs and whatnot. Uh,
Do you know I have giant's blood in me?
No one taught him how to talk to girls, so he's got Bloodraven to teach him now.
Well,
Wonder how
Bloodraven
that's
was
gonna go for him.
He was
does
the
like
boss in his day,
Shira
wasn't he?
Seastar.
Didn't Bloodraven,
yeah,
Wasn't Shira
his
Seastar his chick?
Yeah.
Yeah, his half sister and quite stunning also. But yeah, he also fucked his sister.
1001 bitches.
So that's going to end up.
Jesus Christ.
Incest is best. Put your sister to the test.
Oh no.
At least he didn't lock them up in a tower.
That's true.
Oi.
I don't know what I think is best, really. Having weird sex with your sister or not having weird sex with your sister and just...
Patrick, let's be clear. Not having weird sex with your sister is the optimal choice.
Right. I'm saying that. That's what I'm...
What's that dilemma for anyone like?
One thing I liked in the chapter was when they talk about Winterstown and how it's empty, but it's gonna be full when winter comes. I don't know. That just sounded cool to me.
It's cool that like all the farmers pull into the town because there's no reason to be out in the fields anymore.
Yeah, I thought.
But how do they
they
feed
do?
themselves through like
Yeah.
years of winter?
Well, they save it up. That's the whole point.
Yeah. They send all the old people out and
Die.
But there's
I mean,
only
they
so
have
many
year-
neeps you can save.
Bye,
right?
Grandpa.
They have years of summer to like harvest and harvest and harvest, and then they just have it.
And they use
ready
the
to go.
magic of salt.
Yeah, and everything freezes in the winter, so you're good.
Yeah.
You can do ice fishing, right, or something.
Yeah, but just 'cause
Only until you
like,
fish the whole lake dry. Ask Stannis. Then you
Yeah,
start
only
eating
then.
just
people.
because stuff freezes doesn't mean it lasts for like 10 years in winter. Like,
Everybody congregates in Wintertown because then when people die, they can eat them.
it's the King's Road Trail.
Where was it they were talking about where like the father would just go out, would just go for a walk? You know what I mean? Like he would just leave. Where was that?
That was.
There's a story about.
I think that was in Stannis, where like the old man would go out hunting. and
Yeah,
then
they
they'd
say
find
they're
their
going out for a
bodies,
hunt,
come-
and that's
everyone.
Was
knew
that like a
about that.
wildling thing?
Yeah, it's like a pack of
no,
smoke.
the north thing.
That's a northern.
No,
thing.
wasn't it Old
Is-
Nan that said that? Something about that?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was an old Nan story.
Yeah,
Could be.
an old wives' tale. That's
And now she's in she's held up at the Boltons now, isn't she?
They all got marched down to the Dreadfort, and I don't think we know what happened to them.
Oh man, it would have been so cool if it was like Arya was there and she's like, Nan, what the fuck you doing here, bitch? And Nan's like,
She's like telling
"Hey."
stories and knitting. What else do I do?
Hope she's not dead.
I don't know as if it matters. I don't know if she'll come back into it at all.
Really?
she is.
Well, I
She is
think-
quite old though.
Of course,
think
it
he
matters.
used-
Well, it'd be, quite
Well,
old.
yeah, her name implies that.
Is yeah.
Well, she was old Nan when Ned was a child, so.
Very old man.
But I just feel like she was a vehicle for him to get stories out of like the history of his book, and she kind of served that purpose. So there's no real reason to bring it back. I think it'd be cool if he did, but I don't think
She
he
needs
has
to finish that story about the long night and tell us all how to beat him and how this story's going to end.
Well,
Isn't it that
Yeah.
story she's telling
But-
Bran and then she gets
Yeah.
cut out halfway through, or just as it's getting to the climax?
because Master Lewin hates those stories, so he always interrupts them.
because they're truth.
Especially before the climax.
Yeah, just before the climax, he pulls out. What?
Yeah.
Old man, blue balls.
So, if she's at the Dreadfort, who's gonna like find her and use her knowledge about the others and everything to the advantage of the story? Do you think like
Well,
Davos maybe?
she got skinned and turned into a book.
I don't know, like maybe Littlefinger will bring Sansa there eventually, and she'll recognize her or something like that. Like, who knows how it would go down? Like, somebody has to know who she is for them to use her.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of common.
Definitely.
I don't know why Littlefinger would ever go there, but
I would say Davos is definitely gonna take the Dreadfort.
Davos?
Yeah, with the Skagosi and Robert Glover maybe, and then Rickon and Old Nan, and it's gonna be great.
Rickon's still only gonna be like 5, so
I still
Yeah,
love
they're
that.
Rickon's
riding
just
on
some
unicorns
feral
and
wolf pup
narwhals.
at this point. He's not doing
I still-
anything.
Yeah, I love
he
that.
might be riding on his direwolf. That would be cool.
Yeah, he's hanging out on Shaggydog on Skagos, you know, growing up on a healthy diet of like unicorn blood and unicorn meat. He'll be fine.
Well, and I just love that it's uber civilized there in Skagos, where everyone's very highly sophisticated, and you know they're not cannibals at all. So he's actually learning to drink, you know, mead with his pinky out up there. You know, like yeah.
Well, that was hashtag Greg's theory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of that.
I think it'd be cool if they were like sacrificing people and stuff to make Rickon grow up faster or something like that. I don't know how it'd work. I assume it'd have to be blood magic of some kind.
Because it's magic.
I was gonna say one thing earlier when I don't know why, but Maester Lewin got brought up. Does anybody on this on a reread before, or this one particularly, just like kind of totally think Lewin is a dick? Like Lewin, like
No.
No.
Let him finish his thought, people.
I've been reading
just from you
back on this. Like Lewin totally like sabotages a bunch of shit. Like he totally sandbags Jon. Like gets Jon sent to the wall. Like I don't know. Like Lewin just like causes a bunch of bad shit to happen.
How is he responsible for sending Jon to the wall? Jon wanted to go to the wall.
Well, yeah, but like,
no, he was manipulated into doing it. But like, yeah, all the Maesters are douchebags. They just want to stifle anything that has to do with stuff that they don't, you know, that doesn't fit into their, you know, view of
scientific
what they want
world
to be.
Yeah. So you're part of the Grand Maester conspiracy. You support that?
I think they have an agenda, and they like to stifle things that we know to be true. I mean, they've argued against, you know, the others and everything. You know, like, you know, I'm just waiting for us to see Snarks and all that stuff.
Grumpkins.
You know, Grumpkins. Yeah.
I could just see him at all.
Like I loved like Lewin obviously being like super protective of Bran and Rickon, but then like reading it back again, like he totally like he screwed some people over and like was not as nice as I thought he was. So yeah, I'm off Lewin being awesome.
Yeah, I kind of agree. First read I had of the book, I thought, and he's nice and everything. But then when I got to the whole thing about they talking about that some maesters are loyal to their old houses as well, this got me starting thinking about Lewin and how if he actually had some ulterior motive. Maybe
Which house is he part of, or what's his background? Where's he from?
They don't
that's
know.
the thing we don't even know. But I mean, he does do a lot of. He's kind of the root of a lot of the problems they have in the first few books.
Like what?
Wait a minute. How's that?
No, like he starts the whole thing, like not intentionally, but like, isn't he the one that has the letter, right?
He's the one with the box that has the mirrorish lens.
Yeah.
Or something. And then Catelyn goes to help us see better, and then she, for all the Catelyn
he could totally be Peter's agent in Winterfell.
And
I don't want to believe that.
Oh god.
Well, I don't know if it's that you know blatant, but you know, I mean, in defense of Cat, like, because I mean, really, that is the whole thing that the bit that started this whole avalanche is Cat receiving the letter from her sister, who she hasn't heard from in years, and bad on Cat for not looking at it a little bit more scrupulously and being more in contact with her sister to know that she's fucking crazy. Like if you receive warning about these people that just show up, and it basically telling you that like the Lannisters killed her husband and everything. It's not Cat's fault for believing her sister in that. So there's my little Cat defense.
All right, you can stay on the call.
I'm not banished.
Yet.
No, I don't see the whole Maester Lewin as like an agent of anybody. I mean, Littlefinger's agents, they all have some sort of, gain. And Lewin, what does he gain by sending Robb to the Wall? Nothing.
A bright and shiny lens. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, big deal. That's not really all that impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't really gain anything at any point. So, if anything, it's just the reverse. He does show loyalty to House Stark by, like, when he sees the burned out bodies, like, hoisted up by Theon, by not going, oh, see that kid over there on the right? Yeah, his legs look great. Yeah, that's not them. So, yeah, it just doesn't seem to fit for me.
Well,
I think
it depends. It depends for me, at least. I mean, if you think of him as being an active agent against the Starks, then maybe no. Not in the sense he's not literally carrying out Peter's will, but very well. I mean, this is all speculations, of course, because we're probably never going to get any sort of notion of which house he's from. But if he was from like an antagonistic house towards Stark, the whole meaning of being placed there would make him less likely to give them sound advice always. And that might be something you could be used by someone like Peter Baelish or whatever, someone who just wants information from Winterfell. That's just what I'm saying. And he might not be actively trying to kill off the Starks for someone else, but he might not just be very interested in giving them the best advice that he can.
The Maester before him at Winterfell was God knows what his name was, but wasn't he the one that Lady Dustin is referring to in the Grey Rats
the
whispering in their
Southern
ears?
ambitions.
Yeah,
totally.
And I feel like Lewin is actually quite genuine. Even when Theon takes over, he is just genuinely loyal to the Lord of Winterfell, and it's I don't know. I feel like he really is just about his duty, which is maybe why he likes Ned so much, and vice versa.
If anything, he's probably too close and hasn't been giving objective enough advice and has been too enabling to Ned and the family, and not saying, maybe you want to foster out some of your kids, toughen them up, and maybe you want to be doing X or Y, or telling your wife not to be a bitch to John, or whatever it is.
I think he does. Sorry.
And I may be influenced by the TV show here, because the guy who plays Maester Lewin, I really like him as an actor, and he always comes across as, he acts it with such integrity and looks like such a loyal, earnest servant of the family that sort of.
Was he in Wolf Hall too?
Yeah, he was. He was also in Rome, HBO's Rome.
I think he does the best. I think he does the best that he can with the knowledge that he has. I don't think he has an agenda. I just think that he has holes in his knowledge that he is unwilling to accept change in. He doesn't believe in magic. He doesn't believe in White Walkers or whatever.
Right.
So go ahead.
He did at one point, right?
I don't think so.
No, he tried. He tries it. Everyone who forges their chain, they try a bit of magic, don't they?
Right. He has a Valyrian ring or whatever that is studying the higher magic or whatever, or something like that.
So I have a couple more crackpot ideas that are kind of in this realm. So if everyone would indulge me for a second.
Because the entirety of the AOK is not about indulging. You go ahead.
So part of why Ned is so god-awful stupid when it comes to a matter of intrigue is because he was not meant to be like Lord Stark. He's the second son. He was raised to be the dutiful soldier that he is. He's loyal and honorable, and he's there to serve his family and basically be Brandon's kind of right hand, right? Brandon would have been raised to be more political and basically be have more Stark interests at heart because he's the heir. He is much better at doing intrigue and whatnot. He charmed his way inside of tons of women, including Barbara Justin.
Yeah,
Dude, he went to King's Landing and called for the head.
He's hot-headed and everything.
That's not
political at all.
And incidentally, got him and his companions and all their dads murdered.
Right. So Ned was fostered with Jon Arryn because he wasn't meant to be the heir of the North either. Robb wasn't sent to be fostered anywhere. Robb wasn't. So now when King Aerys went and burned his father and his and Brandon, would they have been privy to some kind of Stark knowledge that that Ned wouldn't be privy to because he wasn't the heir, and that might be the reason why the others have woken, because the whole Kings of Winter thing and all that stuff. Like, there might be. Yeah, there might be more to like just there must always be a Stark in Winterfell means that just that it's some kind of condition that the others had with the first men.
He buried the bones of his father, but forgot to put an iron sword on it, so his ghost jumped out and started the others again.
Yeah, I mean the timeline works for that. Like,
and also his father is the hooded man in Winterfell, right?
No, he's dead.
Anything more on this chapter? Other random stuff.
What? So Theon's a ward of Winterfell.
Mm-hmm.
How long does that last for? Is that for life? So he's just a lifetime prisoner there, effectively.
I think the idea was probably that once Balon died, like they would figure out a way to like Theon would be in charge, and then he's buddy with the people of the North or something.
Or he just resents them horribly for
Surely Rob would know this. Surely Rob would be such an idiot, and he would know this.
He is Ned's son.
Yeah, he trusts Theon, and I don't blame him for trusting Theon. He was right to trust Theon at first. It was his family that was so fucked up that made Theon
He could have, let's put it this way, he could have trusted Theon with anything else. He could have had Theon attack a castle, he could have sent Theon across the sea, and Theon would have been like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think at this point, Theon would have done anything for Robb. But then once he gets into his family and they're like, oh, Starks are terrible, you're terrible for even being around them. And he's trying to prove himself to his father.
Yeah. That's more dead to me than my dead sons.
Yeah, once he sees Balon, then it's over. Like that's who he's trying to impress now.
Well, his sister didn't help either.
And maybe
maybe
Robb wouldn't know, right? Like maybe because Robb they grew up as kind of cousins, sort of like they're this was like his playmate and this was his buddy, and maybe when it came to politics as far as the Iron Isles and stuff, oh yeah, there wasn't a disagreement and he's our ward now, and like maybe it wasn't really like stressed, like because he was too young of like how serious everything was.
It's kind of similar to what Wargasm said about Brandon not knowing things.
Wargasm.
I love my name.
I guess surely him being the heir, he'd be privy to things like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Robb never met Balon Greyjoy, and Ned never told him how bad that dude is. It's just
I think he's talking about how Theon didn't get to know like what it was to be a Greyjoy, because he was never meant to be the heir.
No. I mean, Robb should have known that what the plan was for Theon. I mean, especially if Ned's going south to be Hand of the King for X amount of time.
Well, Ned doesn't exactly get around to having important conversations with any of his children.
Just Arya.
No, because Ned says like keep Theon close because we might need Balon's navy, right?
Yeah, he says it to Catelyn, and then it was in this. Is it in this chapter that Robb says he fortified Moat Cailin as well? So he did hear the message and listen to it, kind of.
Provided that Catelyn wrote that little tidbit of information down, but yeah, it seems that way, so we can assume it. But I mean, plans do change. Robb at some point may have just decided, like, okay, shit, it'd be awful nice to have a navy to go attack Lannisport and to go attack Casterly Rock. So why not?
Well, Cat had a lot on her mind,
Well,
starting wars and stuff.
He would have had a navy though,
right?
Like, yeah.
I think what Ned did know is that Balon had already written off Theon. He was just waiting for a chance that the North was weak to attack.
Yeah, and I'm really thinking that the whole I'm really thinking that the whole idea with keeping Theon for so long was really the worst plan ever. What were they thinking? Balon dying, and then they could just install Theon? Nobody would accept him at all. Because he's
but maybe they felt like they could force the issue. I mean, they run shit, and what would it take? Like, oh, which lords don't accept him, and they just have another little war to insert him, right? Like,
well,
maybe like we know, like, oh, the people of the Iron Islands would say fuck that, but that's not how everyone else thinks.
Right? They think everybody's just like them. They're part of the Seven Kingdoms.
The Starks would know. The Starks would know because the North is kind of like the same way.
But Robert probably be like, whatever. Just hold on to the kid until it's time.
Yeah, but it's not like the Iron Islands are completely unified. Like you kind of get a sense while there is a little bit of differences in the North that there's a little bit more of a sense of unity. And the Iron Islands definitely has this sort of like at the Moot, there's sort of this like old way of doing things of being reavers and pirates and raiders, and also this sort of new way that Asha's kind of trying to promote, like saying, hey, look, why the hell should we go attack the North? It's just full of pine cones and a bunch of bullshit that's not really valuable. Let's move in a different direction. Let's go either raid someplace else or
valuable,
Let's
yeah,
try a new
exactly.
thing,
Let's-
have
let's-
allies.
Let's get a foothold in England.
But they definitely, the islands do seem to kind of like, they all have their little pride, and they like to pretend they're, we're the oldest, we're the greatest, we're the most holy. Like they all kind of like to have like something that's like their little claim, like any one of us could be the the king could come from. And I think that's how wasn't that how it used to be?
Yeah.
In like World of Ice and Fire, they were saying like they sort of like rotated between kings from various areas.
Yeah, a long
time ago, yeah.
Yeah, they
Right,
were
that
having
was when they still had kings.
The Greyjoys have been like the lords of the island for
since the
forever,
conquest.
for the Seven Kingdoms. But I'm saying like everyone has these old ties and this old pride. Like we all have kind of a claim to it. Is I think how a lot of these people feel.
right. And some of the other houses have gained in power over time, and really the Greyjoys haven't had like just the monopoly on power and control and wealth and military arms. So there is sort of a shifting, balance.
Well, I mean, that's presumably since like Balon's like rebellion, right?
Well, yeah, getting your ass kicked will kind of shift the balance of power a little bit.
A little bit.
But also, wouldn't you think that like an outsider would unify at least a lot of the houses against him? Because they'd not be like, shit, you're not going to tell us what to do. We can find our own king.
They'd have the whole Seven Kingdoms backing them, so
They'd
just crush out the little rebellions, and then they would try to unify the Iron Islands as a part of the Seven Kingdoms.
And that would work for 10 years, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of how you have to instill it. You can't just give up and then let them be reavers, because that doesn't work, obviously.
They just sent Stannis on a rowboat, and like their best admirals on the Iron Islands would be like, "Oh shit, it's that guy. He's awesome."
Why is he
Stannis
banging
would be
that lady with
great
red
in
hair?
Ireland.
She's shooting stuff out of her vagina. What's going on?
It's all maple syrup. It's red.
Right, on that happy note, I actually have to go. Thank you to everyone for participating. I think this has been a more smutty and chaotic and fun VOK normal. So thanks to Nadia, Amber, Peter Slater 15, Wargasm, one more time for Matt, Drownedsnow, Shaggydog, Varley on the forums, ZaneSeven, Patrick the Tall, and anyone else who I forgot.
Whiteraven.
It's been a pleasure joining you guys.
# Greg, who is always here in spirit.
Yeah, and I hope I hope the new podcasters felt you got a fair crack at the whip and got to sort of say stuff, and
Sure.
it wasn't.
We got like 60 more, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are more choices. Speaking of which, if you would like to participate in this, I think there's a sort of a misapprehension on the forums that you need to be invited on. Seriously, you don't just PM any of us your Skype details, sign up for a chapter, or just say you want to be participating on the podcast of Ice and Fire forums, and come along. It'll be great to have you on the show.
But it would be nice to ask first, anyways, like just politeness. But it's fine. But that's just me. You can ask me. You can ask me, and then send an PM afterwards. Let's do it that way.
And by PM, anyone on the forums, they mean specifically Patrick and Bina.
Yeah.
No, if you want to be on
if you PM me, I am not going to be like, yeah, go for it. That's helpful.
Hey, I'll send you an invite. Whatever.
I mean, like, honestly, the spirit of VOK is just turn up and be part of it.
Yeah, we are egalitarian, but there is royalty also.
It's that triple goal, baby.
According to Patrick. Okay. So you can find us at vokpodcast.wordpress.com, at vokpodcast on Twitter, on Tumblr, Facebook, and all sorts of other lovely stuff. And does anyone have any podcasts they want to publicize that are coming up? They want to do?
Silmarillion just posted their 7th, I think, and soon will be the 8th.
Yes, it will.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's good.
That's good. And also the World of Ice and Fire Targaryen cast. I'm gonna edit it very soon, and it'll be out very soon. I'm not gonna give it a specific date, but soon.
How George R. Martin of you.
Yeah.
Look for
Way to commit.
It'll be sometime in 2016.
Will it be up for the show?
Possibly. Possibly.
And I
before
think
the show.
some of us, including East Texas Starwolf and Inca's Reign, and maybe Adam as well, are thinking of, and Zach are thinking of doing a podcast on all the like books we've read around The Force Awakens, so things like Aftermath, Before the Awakening, Lost Stars, like to discuss basically theories of who Rey's parents are. So
That'd be good.
if
Hey, can you
anyone wants to join
send me
in
a
that.
list of what those books are so I can read them and join?
Oh well, they're not going to be. They're not going to be out in the U.S. until after the Euros have had a chance to read them and do a podcast on it.
Right.
They're really holding that over us. Like we get to see The Force Awakens first. Blah. We get to celebrate the New Year first. Yeah.
I mean, James Bond will give you guys that a few days early.
Look,
but
you
Star
could
Wars,
just move.
All right.
So guys, have a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy your maple syrup.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Oh, yeah, and also sign up for chapters for the next episode or whatnot.
Okay. Sure. I will not.
I will take them all.
Bye.
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 Bye.